Caleb Thorne was the first to pick up his teacup, taking small, deliberate sips, but his eyes never left Liam. It was as if he could see right through him. Liam felt utterly exposed, as if the old fox across the table were scanning every secret he had. The feeling was deeply unsettling. He remained silent for a moment before deciding to cut to the chase. "Mr. Thorne, about your daughter and me." He didn't even finish the sentence before Caleb cut him off. "You don't like her." It wasn't a question. It was a statement, delivered with absolute certainty. The very words Liam had never dared to say out loud. After all, he was sitting in front of her parents. To tell any parents you didn't like their daughter was a recipe for disaster, regardless of their social standing. But it was the truth. And facing the truth now was better than letting the silence fester until they both ended up scarred. A clean break, even if it was ugly, would cause less damage in the long run. Cassandra never listened to his explanations. The moment he showed any sign of resistance, the Thorne family's methods, and the accompanying torment, would follow him wherever he fled. For the sake of his own well-being, and enticed by the benefits, he had chosen silence. But that didn't mean he would accept it forever. Caleb Thorne was likely the only person who could control Cassandra. This was his chance, and he had to take it. He didn't like her. He had to say it. It was better for everyone. He wasn't the type to lead anyone on. Never had been. "That's right," he said, nodding without a trace of hesitation. Seeing Liam's slightly tense expression, Caleb didn't press. He simply pushed his own untouched teacup toward Liam with a faint smile. "Have some tea. Don't be so nervous." Liam didn't dare. This was Cassandra's father. Even setting that aside, he was an elder. No matter how friendly he seemed, a chasm always existed between generations. He shook his head. "Thank you, Mr. Thorne, but I'm not thirsty right now." There's no need to be so formal. Your father saved my life. If I had found you sooner, I would have raised you as my own son." Caleb's tone shifted, his eyes twinkling as he looked at Liam. "Of course I still could, if it weren't for the fact that my daughter happens to be in love with you." He let the sentence hang in the air, a smile playing on his lips. The implication sent a chill down Liam's spine. "You already knew." The words escaped him before he could stop them. He immediately felt foolish. How could Caleb Thorne, the former patriarch of a top-tier family, a man who had weathered countless storms, not see something so obvious? Caleb nodded, his smile widening. "Of course, I know my own daughter. However, Cassandra's methods can be a bit forceful." Forceful was an understatement. If he hadn't been so resilient, he might not have survived. Beyond the other torments, she had once starved him for 4 straight days. The memory was a scar he never wanted to revisit. Worse, at the time, he had no idea when, or if, she would ever let him out. That kind of hopeless, endless suffering couldn't just be waved away within its all in the past. Seeing the flicker of rage on Liam's face, Caleb took another sip of tea, his gaze growing distant. "You know, Cassandra wasn't always like this when she was little. When she was born, I was so focused on her mother's recovery that I rarely paid her much attention. She was raised mostly by her grandparents. Despite that, she was a bright, happy child, until she was 7. As he spoke, a shadow of grief and anger crossed his face. He set the cup down. "My younger brother, in a bid to seize control of the family, stabbed my parents to death. Right in front of her." "What?" Liam was completely stunned, not just by the story itself, but by the fact that Caleb was revealing such a deeply buried family secret to him, an outsider. From that night on, Cassandra changed. She became silent, withdrawn. She planned her days with the ruthless efficiency of an adult, dedicating every waking moment to her studies, never stopping for a breath. Liam pursed his lips, frowning. "Did you try to change things? To help her?" "It was useless," Caleb said, shaking his head. "By the time I returned and cleaned up the mess, my wife and I tried everything to make her happy. But she would just stare at us, silent. Other than the rare occasions she joined us for dinner, we never felt like she loved us." Liam's mouth twitched. He almost snorted. "I'd be surprised if she could love you after that." The thought was so strong that the first half of it slipped out. "I'd be surprised if she could." He quickly clapped a hand over his mouth, his expression apologetic. Caleb didn't seem offended. Instead, his face was etched with self-reproach. "You're right. That's why we raised Riley, who was 4 at the time ourselves. Thank God, Riley's personality is normal. She takes after her mother." Hearing the whole story, Liam found he had little interest in the Thorne family power struggles. But he finally understood why Cassandra was so domineering. To see the people you love most murdered before your eyes, the shock would shatter most adults, let alone a child. So that was why she took what she wanted by force. And unfortunately for him, she wanted him. It looked like even Caleb Thorne couldn't help him now. Liam sighed and cut straight to the point. What's your purpose in telling me all this? Caleb's gaze sharpened, his expression turning serious. I want you to understand her past, to try and understand her, and then to like her, to fall in love with her. He didn't say the last part, but the intention was clear. If Liam couldn't be his son, he would be his son-in-law. Either way, he owed a debt to his old comrade, and he wouldn't let his son be mistreated. But Liam simply shook his head. I don't need to understand. I don't like her. If I did, I would fight for it. But if I don't, I won't give it a second glance. There was no doubt about it. Liam's character was solid. Caleb was sure of it now. He looked at Liam, his voice firm. I imagine she's done things to you that are unacceptable. Correct. Yes. Liam nodded, without hesitation. Caleb knew it was true, even without asking. But his tone softened, turning into a plea. I'm not asking you to forgive her, but I'm asking you to try. Just open your heart a little. Try to understand. Even if I tried, I wouldn't fall for her. Faced with Caleb's pleading, Liam still refused, shaking his head firmly. But before he could finish, Caleb's voice cut in again. How do you know if you've never tried? Everything has two sides. Liam, are you honestly telling me you believe you'll never, ever be interested in Cassandra? Caleb's voice was resonant, filling the room with the confidence of a man who knew he'd already won. He had done his homework. He'd reviewed Liam's entire life. The boy had grown up in the foster system, and then as a dependent in the Hamilton household. His mind was more mature than his peers. That was inevitable. But what he lacked was guidance from an elder. Caleb was more than willing to play that role. This was his savior's son, and his chosen future son-in-law. Frankly, if it weren't for Riley's naturally vivacious personality, he wouldn't have handed the family business over to Cassandra so early. In his eyes, both Cassandra and Liam were still too green, too inexperienced. But Mr. Thorne, are you kidding me? Liam's voice, laced with a dry, almost weary amusement, sliced through the air. The corners of his eyes, however, held a heavy dose of scorn. He had changed his form of address. No longer the familiar Mr. Thorne tinged with respect for an elder, but a cold, formal title. The shift made Caleb frown. He stared intently at Liam. What do you mean by that? Heh. Liam let out a short laugh, his gaze sharp. Since you've told me a story, Mr. Thorne, why don't I tell you one? Caleb said nothing, his eyes fixed on Liam, a new urgency in them. Liam's lips curved into a faint smile as he began. Once there was a lion walking down the street. A person saw it and decided its wild spirit was unruly, so they locked it up. They used all sorts of harsh methods to try and make it submit, but nothing worked. This person couldn't understand why the lion was so untamable, and slowly, she realized she had developed a special feeling for it. His voice was light, but each word landed like a stone in Caleb's heart. They were both intelligent men. Caleb understood perfectly. The lion in the story was Liam. The person was his daughter. He had investigated them both before this meeting. He knew his daughter's methods, but he had hoped Liam would understand her reasons. So she doubled down because the lion's defiance was driving her mad. Liam's voice dropped, his tone hardening. He looked straight at Caleb, his expression a mask of audacious mockery. What is it, Mr. Thorne? Are you afraid that I'm going to be the one to finally push Cassandra over the edge? The words were a dagger, aimed straight at Caleb's heart. He had never expected the seemingly pliant, agreeable Liam to be this formidable. Liam sat perfectly composed across from him, his face calm, but his eyes were like deep, glacial pools, radiating an immense, chilling pressure. He was completely beyond Caleb's expectations. Suddenly, Caleb's heart stuttered. This was his house. He was the unassailable patriarch of the Thorne family. Liam was here as his guest. And yet, in the span of a few sentences, Liam had completely flipped the script. Caleb's lips moved, but no words came out. Liam's gaze was cold, relentless, pinning him in place. So, Mr. Thorne, putting aside the fact that you're her father, what gives her the right to my understanding? And what gives you the right to persuade me to understand her? His voice dripped with contempt, using such a condescending attitude, no less. Did you think this was a child's game? Just because she had a tragic past, I'm supposed to sympathize with a sadistic abuser? Instead of punishing the aggressor, you tell the victim to understand and accept it. This world really is insane. Faced with Liam's towering presence, the words caught in Caleb's throat. He stared dumbfounded, and in that moment, he realized something. Some people don't need to be guided. Their inner strength is already absolute. Any advice from an elder is not a helping hand. It's an insult. The questions he had posed were, to Liam, utterly redundant. He had been wrong. In a world saturated with information, Liam had not been drowned by the noise. He had emerged from it, stronger and more resolute than Caleb could have imagined. Who was he to persuade him? What authority did he have left? That of an elder? In that instant, Caleb felt as if his innermost thoughts had been laid bare. The crushing feeling of humiliation was overwhelming. He gritted his teeth and let a desperate threat slip out. Liam, you dare speak to me like that? Aren't you afraid of what I could do to you? Really? Liam suddenly smiled. He looked at Caleb, completely unafraid. Compared to the Thorn family, I am indeed an ant. But the father you keep mentioning, wasn't he your savior, who really held the winning hand? Meeting Liam's faint smile, Caleb froze. His breathing quickened. He stared in disbelief, the realization hitting him with the force of a physical blow. The moment he had uttered that threat, he had lost. It was a total, unconditional surrender. From the very beginning, this was a game Liam was destined to win. A wave of defeat, the likes of which he had never known, washed over him. Caleb looked at Liam, who sat there, composed and righteous. In contrast, Caleb felt like a petty, despicable villain. He couldn't even bring himself to meet the young man's eyes. Seeing Caleb's wavering gaze, Liam's tone softened. Mr. Thorn, I can understand you want what's best for your daughter, but that has nothing to do with whether you want to adopt me as a son. Please don't confuse the two issues. It was a classic de-escalation tactic. It was a move Caleb himself often used in business. Push an opponent to the brink, then give them an out to avoid mutually assured destruction. Usually, he was the one offering the lifeline. But now, the roles were reversed. Liam's expression was open. He calmly raised his wrist and, right in front of the stunned Caleb Thorn, slipped off the simple, woven cord bracelet his grandmother had given him and placed it on the coffee table. His voice turned cool again. And on that note, Uncle Caleb, I'm now forced to reconsider whether anything you told me about my father was true at all. Seeing the woven bracelet lying on the table and Liam's impassive, empty expression, Caleb gritted his teeth, his body trembling with a mixture of anger and resignation. After a few tense seconds, he closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and opened them again, his gaze full of concession. The story about your father is true. I have no reason to deceive you with something like that. He had taken the out Liam offered him. Keep the bracelet. Your father really did buy it. Please give the other one to your sister when you see her. It wouldn't be appropriate for me to appear. Liam's eyes flickered. It was true. Caleb had no reason to lie about that. He stared into the older man's eyes for a few seconds before finally picking up the bracelet and slipping it into his pocket. Caleb's expression was distant. You're right. I was being thoughtless. I feel like I failed Cassandra. She needs someone to help her find her way out. He looked at Liam, his eyes still holding a sliver of hope. But Liam just smiled and shook his head. You're mistaken. The person who can help her isn't me. It's herself. If she can't recover from a setback like this, I don't think she'll ever become as strong as you hope she will. Meeting Caleb's astonished gaze, Liam's voice remained even. His own gaze drifted, Cassandra's face appearing in his mind's eye. Perhaps, Mr. Thorn, you've never truly understood your daughter. From what I've seen, I suspect she got out of that darkness a long time ago. Caleb was stunned. She's already moved on? Then why is she still so cold to my wife, to Riley, and to me? That, Liam said with a faint smile, is the choice she made after she moved on. She can choose to face you with any attitude she wants. It's her life, and she has absolute authority over it. And so do I. The unspoken words hung in the air. As Liam spoke, memories of Cassandra's early years flashed through Caleb's mind. It was true. She had never been one for words. Compared to Riley, who wore her heart on her sleeve, Cassandra had always expressed herself through actions. Caleb sighed, covering his face with a weary hand. I was so worried about her. She was only 7 when she saw that. Love makes fools of us all, Liam finished for him gently. In this world, no one was immune to the bonds of emotion. Love, family, friendship, even hatred. These ties always existed, pulling at you, haunting your thoughts. That was just human nature. He was no different. How else could he explain the sudden lurch in his chest when he'd seen Cassandra earlier? But unlike others, he wouldn't fall so easily. He wouldn't fight it either. It was normal. All he could do was follow his heart. You're right. Caleb seemed to have aged years in a few minutes. He looked at Liam, his voice pleading. Then, son, can you tell me, will you forgive her? Faced with a now defenseless Caleb Thorn, Liam's expression sobered. He met the man's desperate, begging eyes and, after a moment of silence, shook his head. Caleb's anxiety flared. I'm already teaching her to recognize her mistakes. If she acknowledges what she's done and apologizes, you still can't accept her. He had clearly misunderstood. Mr. Thorn, those are two different things, Liam said seriously. Cassandra certainly has the right to ask for understanding, but I also have the right to choose whether or not to give it. He sighed. I don't plan on exercising that right at the moment. Of course, if she truly repents, then I will have to consider whether or not to forgive her. So there's a greater chance of forgiveness, right? Caleb leaned forward, his eyes filled with desperate hope. But under that intense gaze, Liam simply shook his head. I don't know. He was always honest. He couldn't possibly give an answer to that now. Everything depended on his heart. Perhaps, when the time was right, his feelings would force him to make a choice. All right, though he hadn't gotten the answer he wanted, Caleb wasn't discouraged. Liam was just getting to know them, and he, in turn, was just getting to know his daughter again. He was trying to correct his mistakes. He believed that with his efforts, Liam would slowly come to accept everything. After all, a heart that had been guarded for so long couldn't change overnight. He had to try his best. Cassandra has already promised me she won't use the Thorne family's power against you anymore, Caleb said directly. Son, can you promise me you won't refuse her affections? This was his bottom line. If Liam rejected her from the start, all talk of forgiveness was moot. Of course, who she likes is her right. This time, Liam didn't hesitate. He nodded with a smile. I promise. I won't reject her. After leaving the study, Liam stretched and went to the room the Thornes had prepared for him, idly scrolling through his phone. A short while later, he got a call from Jason, the head of Landon security. Mr. Liam, the patriarch has set the time for your welcoming banquet. It's tomorrow at 3 p.m. Please be ready. Got it, Liam replied and hung up. His phone was flooded with rumors about him, the most outlandish being that he was the Landon family's long-lost illegitimate son. Ordinary people could never truly understand the world of the elite. They only saw what the powerful wanted them to see. Liam couldn't be bothered to respond. However, the growing calls for him to start his own social media account gave him pause. Perhaps, when all this was over, he could start an account to document his travels around the world. But not now. He drifted off to sleep while playing on his phone. In his dreams, he saw the same image again, a sealed, windowless room. He was all alone. He woke up drenched in sweat. He rushed to the window, throwing it open and gulping down the fresh air, the terrifying claustrophobia slowly receding. A knock came from a door. Mr. Liam, a maid's voice called. The car is ready. Mr. and Mrs. Thorne hoped you would have a meal before you go. Liam snapped back to reality. He looked at his hands, took a deep breath, and changed into the clothes Catherine Thorne had laid out for him. Lawrence Landon's words echoed in his mind. The girl who saved you. Staring at his transformed reflection in the mirror, his eyes darkened. It looked like he had another hard battle to fight today. When he came down from his room, only Caleb Thorne was seated in the dining room. Liam paused for a second before a maid pulled out a chair for him. As breakfast was being served, he glanced at Caleb. Overnight, the man seemed to have regained his vigor. The fatigue from their conversation was gone, replaced by a refreshed energy. Where are Mrs. Thorne and Riley? Liam asked as he picked up his fork. Getting their dresses ready, Caleb explained, a small smile playing on his lips as he looked at Liam. Today is your official welcoming banquet. Lawrence Landon invited all 4 families, including us. Oh, Liam said, offering no further comment. The top families of New York City rarely invited outsiders to their private events. It seemed a battle was indeed on the horizon. Liam quickly ate some toast to tide him over. Walter, the driver, was already waiting outside. After a brief farewell to Caleb, Liam got in the car. He arrived at the Landon estate 10 minutes before the banquet was set to begin. The place was already a hive of activity. Outside the gates, 100 reporters were swarmed together, their lenses all aimed at the estate. Inside, dozens of luxury cars were parked in front of the mansion, and scores of servants scurried about, a picture of grand chaos. Just as it had been on his first visit, the moment his car turned onto the private lane leading to the mansion, the reporters surged forward, cameras flashing. When he stepped out of the car, he saw Lawrence Landon himself seated at the main entrance, flanked by Ian Landon and his family. Behind them stood the patriarchs and heirs of the other families, all waiting for the event to begin. Seeing Liam, Jason, the head of security, immediately rushed to help the old man to his feet. It was a reception of unprecedented warmth. Liam, my boy, come in, come in. We were just waiting for you. You're the star of the show today. Lawrence beamed, his movements slightly shaky as he walked forward. Under the watchful eyes of everyone present, Liam couldn't be disrespectful. He jogged up and took Lawrence's arm. Grandfather, you shouldn't be out here. Your health. Nonsense. I'm just too excited to see my dear grandson. Lawrence patted Liam's hand affectionately. Supported by Liam, the group entered the mansion. The grand hall was already filled with exquisitely dressed people radiating an air of untouchable prestige. Once they reached the front of the room, Lawrence straightened his back, his voice booming as he addressed the crowd. Everyone, today marks the day my grandson, Liam, officially returns to the Landon family. I'm sure many of you already know why I've invited you here. First, I want you all to get a good look at his face. From this day forward, Liam is the true and rightful grandson of the Landon family. Everyone present was from a major family. They understood the weight of those words. All eyes focused on Liam, a mixture of speculation, amusement, suspicion, and disdain. Liam, however, remained impassive. He had no connection with these people now, and he wouldn't in the future. Of course, one could never be certain about the future. Across the room, Hayden Landon's face was a mask of fury, his eyes boring into Liam, his jaw clenched. Beside him, his father, Ian, betrayed no emotion, but his gaze was anything but friendly. Lawrence cleared his throat and continued, and second, Grandfather Landon, you're certainly impatient. We haven't even arrived, and you're already starting? Lawrence was cut off by a clear, feminine voice from the doorway. The voice was achingly familiar. Liam didn't even have to turn around to know it was Riley Thorne. At her shout, every head in the room swiveled to the entrance. Caleb Thorne, smiling, stood with his arm around Catherine Thorne, who looked magnificent in a lavish silk dress. Behind them followed the two great heiresses of the Thorne family, Riley and Cassandra. Cassandra wore a stunning white evening gown, walking with an elegant, regal grace. Her face was an icy mask, but her eyes scanned Liam, her thoughts unreadable. Riley, by contrast, was in a pink princess dress, a perfect blend of nobility and playful charm. The Thornes are here too. Owen Orwell was the first to his feet, his voice filled with surprise. Warren Walsh simply raised an eyebrow, a hint of amusement mixed with a shock. None of them had known the Thornes were coming. The Thornes never bothered with such mundane affairs, especially not for a tacky, viral news story about a lost child returning home. But not only had they come in full force. The sight was enough to send a jolt through the room. Just a month ago, the young Cassandra Thorne had dismantled the Vance family. Though she wasn't looking at anyone in particular, the murderous aura clinging to her was palpable. And the presence of Caleb Thorne, a man forged in battle, was just as intimidating. The moment they entered, the atmosphere in the room solidified with pressure. Lawrence looked slightly embarrassed. Not all. We were just getting started. He signaled to Jason, who quickly pulled out a chair for the Thorne family at the most prominent table in the center of the room. Taking Liam's hand, Lawrence stood at the head of the room, smiling. Welcome, everyone. As you know, my life has been one of tragedy. An early mistake of mine led to the untimely death of my son. Now, my grandson has returned. In the future, he will be the undisputed heir of the Landon family. Undisputed, he says. Owen Orwell muttered under his breath, just loud enough for those nearby to hear. Though many agreed with the sentiment, a quick glance at Caleb Thorne's darkening expression was enough to silence them. Liam's mouth twitched. By saying that, Lawrence had just painted a massive target on his back. He didn't have to look to imagine the expressions on Hayden and Ian's faces. Lawrence smiled and continued. And second, I have another piece of joyous news to share. He glanced at Jason, who immediately disappeared backstage. His voice rang out again. Before my grandson Liam was lost, he fell gravely ill. Fortunately, he was saved by a young woman. Now that Liam has returned, I have found that young woman as well. As he spoke, the backstage doors opened. A woman in a purple gown, her face flushed with excitement, walked onto the stage. Although Liam already knew this was coming, he was still taken aback. Not because the woman was particularly beautiful, but because of the words, before he was lost. He was lost when he was 1.5. This woman looked to be in her late 20s. There was only one explanation. Lawrence was lying. Liam, this is your savior, the heiress of the Shaw family, Sylvia Shaw. Lawrence's voice sounded beside him. Liam snapped back to attention, watching as the emotional Sylvia walked toward him, step by step. And at that exact moment, a gaze from the audience, so cold it felt like it could pierce bone, shot straight through him, as if ready to devour him whole. Liam, it's been so long. Sylvia Shaw's voice was thick with emotion, her gentle face glowing with an unprecedented excitement. It was clear to everyone she was trying to restrain herself, but that wasn't what they cared about. What they cared about were the words heiress of the Shaw family. Lawrence, is she the heiress of Shaw Pharma? Owen Orwell called out, his surprised gaze fixed on Lawrence. Lawrence simply smiled and nodded. Seeing this, Owen couldn't sit still. He turned to Warren Walsh and whispered, Warren, Old Lawrence is playing a long game here. Shaw Pharma has been on a tear these last few years. How did he manage to get their heiress involved? Didn't you hear him? She's his savior. Warren said sarcastically, his eyes locked on Lawrence. Down at the main table, Riley Thorne turned to her sister and father, her face a mask of curiosity. Dad, sis, is the Shaw family a big deal? Cassandra said nothing, but her face had become a thundercloud. Her expression was arctic, her gaze locked on Liam, her hand, resting on the arm of her chair, clenched into a tight fist. They're a legacy family in pharmaceuticals, Caleb said, his eyes narrowing slightly. He glanced worriedly at Cassandra before adding, the Shaws have been gaining momentum fast these past few years. They're not to be underestimated. It's just some pharma company. What's the big deal? Riley scoffed, completely unconcerned. Caleb shook his head. Riley, you can't look at it that way. If the Shaws and the Landons join forces, in a few years, they could be on par with us. As he spoke, his worry for Cassandra deepened. His words finally clicked for Riley. Lawrence wasn't just introducing someone. He was using this opportunity to arrange a marriage for Liam. And this woman was a savior. With a bond like that, what if Liam? She couldn't even finish the thought. An icy pressure descended around her, and she didn't dare think any further, instinctively looking at her sister. Sis, don't worry. That woman looks like she's almost 30. She's got nothing on you, Riley declared loudly. Don't worry. I'm Team You and Liam all the way. I'll only accept Liam as my brother-in-law. Her words were firm, but they did nothing to thaw the frigid air. Cassandra bit her lip, her gaze venomous as she stared at Liam. Liam, you've met all the family elders now, Lawrence said, clapping a hand on Liam's shoulder with a meaningful look. Sylvia has been looking for you for many years. Why don't you two go catch up? Go on, have fun. Under such intense pressure, Liam had to make a choice. Ignoring the murderous glare boring into his back, all he wanted now was to know the truth about his past. At the very least, he had to understand his own origins. Liam nodded and followed Sylvia off the stage. Lawrence, meanwhile, was helped by Jason over to Caleb's table. He bowed slightly. Patriarch Thorne, it's been too long. Shall we have a chat? Caleb nodded. He glanced at his daughters, then took Catherine's hand and smiled. Of course. Let the children play. They can't relax with us around anyway. Exactly, Lawrence agreed, gesturing toward a private lounge. As the family patriarchs moved to the inner hall, the main space was left to the younger generation. Hayden, has your uncle lost his mind? He just got the guy back, and he's already naming him the heir. The moment the adults left, Warren Walsh Jr. rushed over to Hayden Landon, his expression incredulous. How should I know? Hayden fumed, and the bastard has no manners. I'm his uncle, for crying out loud. Hi, you're only 18, kid. You really expect him to call you uncle? Owen Orwell Jr. Tease. Screw you. Hayden shot back, watching as Liam and Sylvia found a quiet corner. He couldn't stand it. He's supposed to call me uncle. We're a whole generation apart. Hayden, you need to establish your dominance, Warren Jr. advised. If you don't, he'll never respect you. Besides, he's older than you. If I were your uncle, I'd choose him too. That's right. You got to put him in his place. You need to get some guys to rough him up, you know. Owen Jr. added enthusiastically. Though they were joking, Hayden took their words to heart. He shot a venomous glare at Liam in the corner, then threw his arms around his friend's shoulders. Come on, we'll deal with this later. Let's get a drink. In the corner, Liam felt his skin crawl under Sylvia's intense stare. He shifted uncomfortably. Ms. Shaw, would you like something to eat? I'm not hungry. Sylvia shook her head, her eyes burning with a fervent heat as she gazed at him. The look sent a shiver down Liam's spine. He was already enduring one piercing glare. He didn't need another. He cleared his throat, deciding to be direct. Ms. Shaw, there's something I need to know. My grandfather said you were my savior. What's the story behind that? He had to ask. The more tangled things got, the more complicated they would become. But at his question, Sylvia's eyes darted away. She looked at him, hesitating for a long moment before finally speaking. It's nothing. That's all in the past. You don't need to think about it. As she spoke, her pretty eyes filled with a heart-wrenching tenderness. Unable to stop herself, she reached out and caressed his cheek. The look of longing in her eyes was so thick it was practically spilling out. The gesture made Liam's entire body tense. He was about to jump to his feet, but before he could move, a furious shout erupted. Hey, get your hands off him, you shameless woman. Have you no decency, touching him in public? Riley Thorne, unable to contain herself any longer, stormed over, slapped Sylvia's hand away, and stood protectively in front of Liam. The sudden turn of events left Liam stunned. Across from them, Sylvia looked equally confused, but she didn't seem angry. Instead, she smiled at Riley. "Hello, you must be the younger Miss Thorne." "Riley, correct?" "That's right, it's me. And Liam belongs to my sister, so don't even think about stealing him." Riley, never one to mince words, shouted, completely disregarding the setting as she glared at Sylvia. Sylvia's expression faltered. She turned her head slightly, her voice laced with confusion. "Your sister?" Her gaze fell to the center of the hall, where Cassandra sat like a queen on a throne, her cold face a sheet of ice, the murderous aura around her now completely unrestrained, sweeping across the room like a blizzard. Sylvia was momentarily stunned, but then a corner of her mouth lifted in a smirk. She looked back at Liam, her tone possessive. "Liam, are they your friends?" The question was a direct dismissal of both Riley and Cassandra. Cassandra remained a cold, proud statue, but Riley was clearly agitated. Three women, three different agendas, all looking at Liam. The atmosphere instantly froze. Liam glanced at Cassandra, then at the anxious Riley, and his heart sank. He gave a non-committal answer. Sort of. His relationship with Cassandra couldn't be summed up in a sentence. Right now, his priority was hearing Sylvia's story about his past. A man who didn't know his own origins would always have a void in his life, no matter how successful he became. Sort of. What do you mean, sort of? You and my sister, you two. Riley was on the verge of blurting out every crazy thing they'd ever done together. But one look at her sister, sitting there as unshakable as a mountain, made her panic. Suddenly, Cassandra's icy voice cut through the tension. "Riley." Riley flinched and looked at her sister. Cassandra let out a cold snort, then abruptly stood up. After giving Liam one last, deep look, she commanded, "We're going home." The tone was an undisguised order. "Sis," Riley cried out, "how can we go home at a critical moment like this? You even brought a gift for Liam." Riley Thorne, Cassandra's voice, now laced with murderous intent, cut her off. "One more word, and I'm sending you to Indonesia." She glared at Riley, her gaze then sweeping past her land on Liam, cold and sharp as a shard of ice. Seeing the raw fury in her sister's eyes, Riley reluctantly shut her mouth, though she continued to shoot worried looks between Liam and Cassandra. This was no joke. If Sylvia really managed to steal Liam away, her sister would implode, and she'd be caught in the fallout. She could already picture Cassandra's perpetually stormy face if Liam were to leave. Biting her lip, she walked over to Cassandra. With so many people around, she didn't dare say more. Back in a corner, Liam was taken aback. A gift? Everyone at the banquet had brought him gifts, mostly collectible paintings and the like. Valuable, but not exceptionally so. This, however, was something from Cassandra, separate from the Thorne family's power. He was genuinely curious what it could be. "But, Liam, it's not convenient to talk here. Let's go up to the terrace," Sylvia said, her voice soft as she gently placed a hand on his arm, her eyes full of devotion. The sudden touch sent a jolt through him. He instinctively pulled his arm back, but after a moment's thought, he nodded silently, stood up, and with a final glance at Cassandra, walked towards the elevator. Seeing Liam's distant gesture, Sylvia looked disappointed for a moment, but as he stood to follow her, a spark of determination returned to her eyes. Ignoring the Thorne sisters, Liam and Sylvia entered the elevator and headed for the top floor. As the elevator doors closed, Riley could no longer hold back her torrent of words. "Sis, are you just going to stand there and watch that woman take Liam away? That's not like you at all." Usually, anyone who displeased her sister would not be treated kindly, especially when it came to someone her sister liked. But today, not only had that woman put her hands all over Liam, now the two of them were going up to the roof to catch up. If she let this continue, that woman might actually succeed in seducing him. It was so strange. Why was her sister being so calm today? "Sis, I say we should just." Riley was fuming, about to suggest a plan of action, when she saw a blur of motion beside her. Her sister, who had been about to leave, had spun around and was now striding towards the elevator. Riley blinked, then it hit her. She quickly trotted after her. Of course, she knew her sister would never let them be alone. She was going to eavesdrop. No, wait, what was she thinking? It wasn't eavesdropping. It was practically public knowledge that Liam was her future brother-in-law. This was righteous surveillance. A servant opened the elevator doors. Cassandra stepped in, and Riley followed close behind. They, too, went to the top floor. The elevator doors opened to an empty lounge. Riley's face fell. "Sis, you don't think they went to one of the rooms, do you?" Even before she'd spoken, Cassandra's expression had already turned impossibly grim upon seeing the empty space. "Find them." The words were squeezed out from between her teeth, her voice stretched to its absolute limit. Right away, sis. Riley responded, darting into the lounge and tearing through every room, a frantic blur of pink silk. She even checked the storage closet at the far end, but there was no sign of them. No, sis, they're not here, Riley cried, her forehead beaded with sweat. Without even wiping it away, she rushed back. At that moment, a soft laugh, followed by Liam's own voice, drifted down from the rooftop terrace above. Ha ha ha, Liam, you're making me blush. Why? It's just the truth. Your technique is amazing. Really? Of course. You're really, really good. The fragments of conversation reached Cassandra and Riley's ears. The sudden drop in temperature beside her made Riley afraid to even look at her sister's face. Her own expression soured as she clenched her small fists in a fit of pique. They have no shame, doing that on the rooftop in broad daylight. Cassandra's lips were a thin, tight line, her eyes bloodshot with a terrifying fury. A crazed, possessive madness twisted her features. Kill her. The voice was a whisper from hell. Riley's face went white. Sis, calm down. This is the Landon estate. We can't. But before she could finish, Cassandra was already moving, her steps firm and fast as she headed for the stairs. This was the Landon estate. They hadn't come prepared. If something happened here, even they would have a hard time getting away clean. Not to mention, dozens of media outlets were camped outside the main gate. The slightest disturbance would cause a frenzy. In this age of instant information, not even the Thorne family could erase all the fallout. Riley stamped her foot in frustration, but there was nothing else for it. She broke into a run, chasing after her sister. Liam had barely settled in when a loud bang echoed through the air. The rooftop door had been kicked open. Liam and Sylvia both turned to look. Cassandra stood in the doorway like a vengeful specter from the dead of night. The sunlight streamed down, hitting her white dress, but instead of softening her, it only amplified her menacing aura. Behind her, Riley stumbled into view, panting heavily. Before she could say a word, her eyes fell on the scene, and she froze. Liam, you two are. What are you doing? On the terrace, amidst a profusion of flowers, Liam was seated on a swinging bench. Across from him, Sylvia held a paintbrush, an easel before her. On the white canvas, the faint charcoal outlines of a portrait were already taking shape. Ms. Shaw is painting my portrait, Liam explained, a knowing glint in his eye as he looked at Cassandra. He smiled and added, for Riley's benefit, just a close-up. So you're talking about painting? Riley finally put it together, glancing nervously at her sister. That's right, Liam said with a cheerful nod. Ms. Shaw's quick sketch was so good, I suggested she try a full charcoal drawing. His gaze drifted over to them, his lips curving upwards as he feigned curiosity. What are you two doing up here? Oh, we were just... Riley started to invent an excuse, but Cassandra cut her off before the lie could fully form. The view is nice. We just came up to take a look. Cassandra's voice was flat, her attempt at nonchalance utterly transparent. The excuse was so flimsy a child could see through it. Liam could practically smell the jealousy wafting through the air, but he had no intention of clearing things up just yet. Cassandra's previous torment had nearly given him a permanent complex. Now, Caleb had told him she wouldn't use her family's power against him. The tables had turned. Watching her squirm was, to his surprise, deeply satisfying. Sylvia was clearly annoyed, but she said nothing. After giving Cassandra a long look, she turned her attention back to Liam, raising her hand to direct him. Liam, don't move. I'm about to start. Okay, Liam replied, nodding. Out of the corner of his eye, he watched Cassandra. She and Riley sat down on a bench not far from the swing. Riley started whispering. Sis, are we really just going to sit here and watch? Seeing her sister's stony silence, an impossibly dark expression, Riley whispered again. Sis, if you can't stand it, I'll go over there right now and make up an excuse to pull Liam away. Who can't stand it? Cassandra snapped, her voice low and cold, yet betraying an anger she herself didn't seem to notice. They're having a tender moment. Why will we interrupt? Her icy words, though not loud, carried across the quiet rooftop. The Landon mansion was huge, but the terrace was a relatively small space. Aside from the footsteps of the servants, it was just the four of them. Naturally, Liam and Sylvia heard everything. The crazy woman has a stubborn mouth, Liam thought, a smile involuntarily spreading across his face, even though his back was to them. As the artist, Sylvia was attuned to the smallest details. In an instant, she noticed a change in her model's expression. She tightened her grip on her paintbrush and said softly, Liam, I'm getting a little hungry. Some dessert? Liam asked. It was, after all, tea time. Whatever you decide is fine, Sylvia said, forcing a gentle smile as she gazed at him with adoration. All right. Ignoring the cloying look that made his skin crawl, Liam called over a servant and ordered some afternoon tea and desserts. As the servant left, Cassandra's voice rang out, as if she couldn't bear to be outdone. Wait, prepare some for Riley, too. She's hungry. Riley, huh? Yes, miss. Is there anything else? The servant asked, bowing to Cassandra. Cassandra lifted her chin haughtily, her proud gaze landing on Liam as she ground out the words, Give me a glass of lemon water. Right away. The servant nodded and hurried downstairs. Lemon water. That's going to be sour, Liam thought, his eyes crinkling with amusement. For some reason, watching Cassandra get flustered filled him with a strange, vengeful joy. Seeing the change in Liam's expression, Sylvia began to feel restless. She glanced past him at the Thorne sisters, her lips tightening. Forcing another smile, she said, Liam, do you remember when we were little? We used to do this too. You'd be the model, and I would paint you. Her words snapped Liam out of his reverie. He looked at her. Wait, Ms. Shaw, when we were little. Seeing his interest piqued, Sylvia's smile widened. Yes, when we were children. You were so small then, but my paper wasn't very big either, so it was the perfect size to draw you. Sunlight filtered through the glass roof, falling on Sylvia and adding a touch of sophisticated charm to her mature elegance. She was clearly lost in the memory, her expression deeply moved. But that wasn't what concerned Liam. Small. Liam seized on the detail. Forgive me for asking, Miss Shaw, but how old are you? He asked, thinking aloud. As if she had expected the question, Sylvia answered without hesitation. I'm 3 years older than you. 3 years? Liam was stunned. If that was true, then when she was painting him before he was lost, she would have been only 4.5 years old. Impossible. Even if Sylvia was a prodigy, painting at 4.5 and remembering it all so clearly. It didn't make any sense. He looked up at her in disbelief. The sunlight, the surrounding flowers, the scene hit him with a strange force. A few fragmented images and voices flashed through his mind. Daddy, when I grow up, I'm going to marry my little brother, and our family can live on the island forever, okay? Sylvia, Liam isn't from our island. One day he'll have to go back and find his real family. No, I want to be with him. Liam always listens to me. A dense forest, an island, the roar of the ocean waves crashing around him. Suddenly, a sharp ringing filled his ears, followed by 1,000 piercing needles of pain. His mind plunged into chaos. A wave of dizziness washed over him, his head feeling as heavy as lead. His body gave out. He slumped sideways on the swing and collapsed. Liam, though she was some distance away, Cassandra's gaze had never left him. She was the first to react, leaping to her feet. Beside her, Riley, who had just taken a bite of cake, jumped in surprise. Sis, what's wrong? She mumbled through a mouthful of frosting. Before she could finish, Sylvia's voice, a half-second behind, cried out, Liam, what's wrong with you? Someone help. Cassandra yelled, already moving like an arrow, shoving Sylvia aside to get to him. Liam, wake up. Don't you dare play dead. Her sharp voice echoed across the terrace as she knelt beside him, her brow furrowed in deep concern. Ms. Thorne, you. Pushed aside, Sylvia was clearly unhappy and was about to argue when several servants rushed forward. Forgetting her dignified status, Cassandra moved with startling speed, grabbing one of Liam's arms and barking at the staff. What are you doing standing around? Get him inside now. Yes, yes. The servant stammered, quickly taking Liam's other arm and helping the unconscious young man off the terrace. Seeing her opportunity stolen, Sylvia was visibly displeased, but she maintained a strained smile. Ms. Thorne, Liam is. Cassandra didn't give her the chance to finish, not even bothering to glance at her. She pulled out her phone and dialed Evelyn Reed. Evelyn, get your ass over here in the next 30 minutes, she snapped. After hanging up, Riley ran over, cake forgotten. Sis, what happened to him? Did he get heat stroke? She asked, looking at her sister with wide, confused eyes. Cassandra's brow was deeply creased. She shot a venomous glare at Sylvia, then turned to head downstairs without a word. Ms. Thorne, wait a moment. Seeing Cassandra about to leave, Sylvia put down her paintbrush and called out. Cassandra didn't slow down, her face a mask of cold fury. But Sylvia's voice came again, clear and deliberate. Ms. Thorne, since you also like Liam, don't you think we should talk? Her words, though spoken softly, landed with the force of a bomb. Cassandra stopped dead in her tracks. Riley, following behind, whipped her head around to stare at Sylvia, then back at her sister, her jaw slack. This woman had some serious nerve, talking to her sister like that. Riley had already mentally sentenced Sylvia to death. She looked at the clueless woman with pity. To her utter shock, Cassandra spoke. Riley, you go downstairs. Get the Landon family's doctor. Her tone was a command. Riley's eyes widened. Sis isn't angry. She stared at her sister's frosty expression, but didn't dare argue. Okay, sis, I'll go right now. On her way out, she ushered all the remaining servants off the terrace with her. The rooftop door swung shut, leaving Cassandra and Sylvia alone. I don't have time for nonsense, Cassandra said, her voice dripping with impatience and barely suppressed rage. Seeing Cassandra's agitation, Sylvia merely smiled. She gracefully sat down, picked up a cup of tea, and took a small sip, her eyes thoughtfully on Cassandra. Don't be in such a hurry, little sister. Liam has a doctor to look after him. We'd only be in the way. Why don't we sit and have a chat? She gestured to the chair opposite her. Cassandra felt her patience wearing thin. She reined in a murderous impulse bubbling just beneath the surface. Spit it out. I don't have time to listen to your bullshit, but you're listening, aren't you? Sylvia's lips curved into a smug smile. Don't be so angry at your age. Sit down, let's talk. After all, she paused, her voice dropping. This is about Liam. The words were the key. Cassandra's hands clenched into fists. She bit her lip, her glare venomous, but finally, she sat. That's better, Sylvia said, pouring Cassandra a cup of tea. It's a beautiful day, but the sun is strong. A little iced tea will help cool you down. Cassandra's anger was at its breaking point. She didn't know how Liam was, and this woman dared to use him as a bargaining chip. No more patience. Cassandra's face went cold. She shifted, and in a flash, the small, gold-plated pistol was in her hand, the barrel aimed squarely at Sylvia's smiling face. One more useless word, and I'll put a bullet in you. Staring down the dark barrel, Sylvia's smile finally faltered. Her expression hardened slightly. She reached into her pocket, pulled out a slim menthol cigarette, and lit it. As smoke curled into the air, her mature, intelligent face took on a hint of weariness. When I was 4, my father found a baby boy on the island. Our whole family was overjoyed. My mother had a difficult birth with me and could never have another child. We treated that boy like our own. He was my childhood playmate. Her voice was calm and steady. Cassandra lowered the gun slightly, tucking it back into the holster on her thigh. You've probably guessed. That boy was Liam, Sylvia said with a faint smile. Honestly, I wasn't supposed to tell you any of this. Mister, Landon told me Liam was injured and lost his memory. He thinks he grew up in a foster home. The truth is he was 12 years old when the Hamiltons took him in. Hearing this, Cassandra's brow furrowed. It was completely different from what her own investigation had revealed. Identities could be falsified, but could memories be faked as well? If Sylvia wasn't lying, then someone had deliberately manipulated things. But what did any of that have to do with her? Why are you telling me this? Cassandra's tone was as cold as ever. Sylvia seemed surprised. Aren't you curious? Why should I be? You. Sylvia was truly stunned. Don't you like him? I do like him, Cassandra retorted with a cold laugh, seeing right through Sylvia's game. But liking him is one thing. What does his past have to do with me? The person I like is the man he is now, not who he was, and certainly not the version of him that exists in someone else's memory. You. Sylvia was completely speechless. She never expected Cassandra to respond like that. But isn't liking someone about understanding their past? She murmured. If you didn't understand, how could you say you like them? Of course I can learn about his past. But more importantly, Cassandra's voice cut in, sharp and cold. Whatever story you two had, it's in the past. From now on, he will belong to me, and me alone. I won't allow anyone to covet what is mine. At this domineering declaration, Sylvia suddenly smiled. Little sister, you're still young. You don't understand the destructive power of a childhood sweetheart. Oh, really? Cassandra sneered, her eyes boring into Sylvia. If he had fallen for you back then, why would he ever like anyone else? The simple, cutting question hit its mark. The image of Liam's faint smile when he'd heard her jealous remarks just moments ago flashed in Sylvia's mind, and her face stiffened. He just lost his memory. She recovered quickly, her gaze turning sharp. But have you ever thought about what he'll choose when he gets it back? The verbal jab landed. Cassandra's hands tightened into fists. I don't care what he chooses, she said, her voice low and stubborn. His destiny is with me. Is it? Sylvia noted the subtle clenching of Cassandra's fists and smiled. In that case, Ms. Thorne, I need you to agree to a deal with me. I don't have time for your games. Cassandra had heard enough. She was too worried about Liam. She stood to leave. Don't be so quick to refuse, Sylvia said. I'm proposing that I will allow you to pursue Liam. But in return, you cannot obstruct my pursuit of him. Cassandra laughed, a cold, arrogant sound. Cassandra Thorne doesn't need anyone's permission to do anything. She turned to go, but Sylvia wasn't about to let her go that easily. She stood up quickly, a smile on her face. Even if it means he could get hurt by forcing his memories to return. The words stopped Cassandra in her tracks. Why couldn't this damned woman just say everything at once? She turned back, her eyes blazing red with fury. Seeing she had her, Sylvia pressed her advantage. You want to know who Liam really likes, don't you? It was true. Sylvia knew exactly which buttons to push. After her talk with her father last night, Cassandra had spent hours thinking. She was in love with Liam, but he remained as cold and distant as ever, always looking for an escape. She had tried so many methods to keep him by her side, and while he often complied, it never felt right, especially today when Sylvia had shown up. It was as if she didn't even exist in his eyes anymore. The feeling terrified her. For the first time in her life, she wasn't getting what she wanted. What do I have to do to make him love me? The question had haunted her all night. I'm a few years older than you both, so I should be more magnanimous, Sylvia said, her face softening into a gentle expression. I think we shouldn't force Liam. We should give him space to think for himself. Don't you agree? Cassandra's first instinct was to refuse, but her father's warning echoed in her mind. Forceful methods will only push him further away. You have to learn to show respect. She bit her lip, silent for a long moment. Finally, she looked at Sylvia. What's your plan? A triumphant smile lit up Sylvia's face. She held up her hand, ticking off points on her fingers. Starting today, I'll be staying at the Landon estate. You and I can pursue Liam together. We'll split the timeline. Monday, Wednesday, Friday are yours. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday are mine. On weekends, Liam can choose for himself. How does that sound? Today is Wednesday. Later, I'll make an excuse to go chat with Mr. Landon and leave you two alone. Before Cassandra could respond, Sylvia added, of course, during this time, neither of us can force ourselves on him physically. Everything depends on his choice. Without that last condition, Cassandra would have flatly refused. But now, as much as she hated to admit it, she was worried. Worried about what those sudden memories might do to Liam's health. Liam cannot be harmed. She pressed her lips into a thin line, her voice a low, threatening growl as she stared at Sylvia. If you dare so much as show your claws, I will personally cut them off. With that, she turned and left without another word. Her threat was not an empty one. The venom in her tone sent a shiver of fear through Sylvia. But despite losing the battle of intimidation, Sylvia was pleased. Her words meant Cassandra had agreed. So what if she was a latecomer? She had defied her parents, left the island as soon as she was old enough, and used her connections to start a company in New York, all for this one moment, to find Liam. Liam had been a ray of light in her isolated island life. She was certain that once he remembered their past together, he would come back to her. He would fall in love with her. No, he had to. A possessive glint appeared in Sylvia's normally gentle eyes. When his memory returned, she would take him back to the island, and they would spend the rest of their lives together. So I was only in the foster home for a year. In the bedroom, the family doctor finished his examination, shooed everyone out, and closed the door, leaving Liam to rest. 10 minutes later, Liam's eyes fluttered open. He looked at his own hands, a flicker of understanding on his face. So the dreams weren't just omens. Sylvia hadn't been lying. He had known her long ago, not at the foster home, but on her family's island. His memories had been severed, leaving only the foster home and the Hamiltons. The only person who could have done that was Lawrence Landon. No wonder Jason had made him open that electrified door when he first returned to the estate. It was a test to see if his memory had returned. Memories could be altered. All you had to do was reinforce certain points. Even now, he could vividly recall being sick at the foster home, a caregiver holding him during a drip, falling down, being rejected by potential adoptive parents. It seemed the question of whether Lawrence Landon was even his real grandfather was also now in doubt. Liam let out a cold laugh. What a grand conspiracy. Before he could sort through his thoughts, the door was kicked open. Cassandra strode in, followed by Evelyn Reed with her medical bag, and Riley, who was peeking nervously from behind them. Big brother Liam, you're awake? Riley rushed in excitedly, leaning over the side of the bed and staring at him with wide, curious eyes. Cassandra, still wearing her icy expression, said nothing, but her worried gaze was fixed on him. She stepped aside, making room for Evelyn. Evelyn immediately came forward, placing her medical bag on the nightstand and carefully examining Liam. Still dizzy? Liam shook his head. You're a little pale. You probably just got overheated from the sun, Evelyn observed, pulling a small bottle of a bitter restorative tonic from her bag. She sounded slightly exasperated. Drink this. You'll be fine. Liam knew it wasn't heat stroke. He shook his head again. No thanks, I'm okay. How are you going to get better if you don't take the medicine? Evelyn insisted, glancing at Cassandra's darkening expression and pushing the bottle closer. Liam was about to explain that it wasn't heat stroke when Cassandra spoke. Evelyn, go get some sugar. Her voice was soft, but left no room for argument. The tonic is incredibly bitter. Is she worried he won't be able to stand the taste? Evelyn's eyes widened slightly. She saw Riley pulling a lollipop from her own pocket and moved with lightning speed, tossing the bottle of tonic to Liam and grabbing Riley's arm. Miss Riley, why don't you come with me? I'm not very familiar with the Landon estate, and I have a little social anxiety. Riley blinked. Before she could process it, Evelyn was dragging her out of the room, pulling the door shut behind them. Evelyn, what are you doing? Brother Liam is still sick. Why'd you pull me out? Riley demanded once they were in the hall. Are you dense? Evelyn couldn't help but tap Riley on the head. Can't you see your sister is worried about him? I checked him over. He's fine. Just low blood sugar from being in the sun. What are we doing staying in there like a couple of third wheels? Oh, right. The explanation dawned on Riley, and she giggled. Okay, then, you and I will stand guard by the elevator. We won't let anyone in. Back in the room, Liam pushed himself up. He had mostly processed the new flood of memories, but now he had a more immediate problem. Cassandra was sitting on the edge of his bed, watching him silently, her cool expression unreadable. Ms. Thorne. Liam cleared his throat, about to get out of bed, but Cassandra stopped him, placing a hand firmly on his shoulder. You're sick. Just rest. If you need anything, I'll get it for you. Her expression was still cold, but the meaning in her words was undeniable. It was rare to hear such an anxious tone from her. The firm grip on his shoulder felt strangely familiar. Liam took a deep breath. I'm fine, really. Ignoring his protests, she leaned in closer, her stunning face just inches from his, her almond-shaped eyes scanning his features. You call this pale face fine? She scoffed, and before he could argue, she firmly pushed him back down onto the bed. Was this concern? For a moment, Liam didn't know what to say. But he really was fine, and this was still a banquet. If word got out that he had collapsed, Lawrence and the others would know immediately. He couldn't just lie here. He insisted on sitting up. Thank you for your concern, Miss Thorne, but I'm really okay. I'll be fine after some water. His distant words clearly registered with Cassandra. A shadow of disappointment crossed her eyes. She watched him silently as he got up, her lips pursed as if in defiance. There's no need for thanks between us. As he was putting on his shoes, Liam replied automatically, No, that's not right. You were concerned about me, so I should thank you. He kept talking, not noticing the storm gathering in Cassandra's eyes. He stood up. All right, Ms. Thorne, if there's nothing else, I should get back. Before he could finish, Cassandra shot up and, in a single, fluid motion, cupped his chin. Before he could react, she leaned in on her tiptoes and pressed her lips to his in a feather-like kiss. If you don't listen, she whispered, her eyes burning with a fiery intensity as she looked up at him, I'll kiss you. Liam's eyes widened in disbelief. Ms. Thorne, chill. Her fingertip touched his lips, a light, teasing pressure that sent an unexpected jolt through him. She stared at him, her gaze a mixture of possessive pride and, as her eyes met his, something else, a raw, pleading command. Hold me. Her voice was so soft it could melt bone. If it weren't for the undertone of an order, Liam felt he might have dissolved on the spot. He looked down at her, baffled, unsure of what she was doing. It was so unexpected. After their confrontation at the Thorne compound, her attitude had shifted, but he couldn't be sure why. He hadn't wanted to care, but watching her get jealous had been fun, exciting even, but none of that was enough to make him forgive the torture she'd put him through. The thought solidified his resolve. He pushed her away, his voice cold and distant. That's not appropriate. Cassandra looked genuinely startled by the rejection, a flicker of panic in her eyes. There's no one else in this room. It's still not appropriate, Liam said, a faint, humorless smile on his lips. He shook his head. Ms. Thorne, we're not in a relationship. It would be best if you didn't do things that cross that line again. His voice was brutally calm, brutally rational. The words snapped Cassandra back to reality. She looked at him with a complex expression and blurted out, Cassandra Thorne doesn't need anyone's permission to do anything, right? Before she could finish, Liam cut her off with a knowing smile, preempting her usual defense. It was as if he could see straight into her soul. Her instinctive retort died on her lips. She bit down hard, her eyes turning red. Liam's smile remained. Ms. Thorne, I am, at least for now, a Landon. Whatever else happens, that status protects me. You can't touch me. I don't want to dredge up the past. If you have nothing else, please leave. He offered no mercy. His past behavior had been a compromise, but things were different now. He had leverage. But for Cassandra, who had been on the receiving end of his rejections dozens of times, the words had lost their sting. Her eyes narrowed, rationality flooding back in. She crossed her arms, her gaze locking onto Liam with a heavy, oppressive weight. Are you that desperate to be done with me? How is this being done with you? Liam's eyes flickered, a gentle smile playing on his lips. We don't even know each other, remember? It had been so long, yet he still clung to those same words. And those same words still had the power to ignite Cassandra Thorne's fury. Is that so? She sneered, stepping forward, closing the distance between them. She grabbed his collar again, yanking him down until his face was level with hers, and crushed her lips against his. What about that kiss? Did you feel anything then? She didn't give him a chance to think. The moment the kiss broke, she threw the question at him, her voice dripping with challenge. Liam was stunned. He never imagined his denial would only make her bolder. Seeing his shocked silence, Cassandra's sneer deepened. Your mind might not remember me, but your body sure does. Her hand began a slow, deliberate descent down his chest, her touch anything but innocent. The light brush of her fingertips sent an itching heat through him. He was enveloped in that familiar, elegant scent of roses. Her slender waist was just an inch away. It was all becoming incredibly difficult to resist. Just as her hand neared the point of no return, he snapped his own out, clamping his fingers around her delicate wrist. Don't play with fire. His voice was a raw, hoarse whisper, a warning barely held in check. Cassandra simply raised an eyebrow, her voice dropping to a sultry murmur. I'm helping you put out. You. In broad daylight, in the middle of a party, they were doing this in a private room? Stop messing around, he said, his voice turning cold as he ruthlessly shook her hand off. He frowned. This isn't the time or place. I have something urgent to do. Having her hand flung away, Cassandra was visibly displeased. Urgent. She shot him a disdainful look, her tone thick with sarcasm. Are you in a hurry to see an old flame? Her gaze was sharp, accusatory, giving him no room to argue. She sat down on the edge of the bed directly in front of him, her long legs stretched out on the carpet, physically blocking any path to the door. Old flame. Liam was speechless, staring at her in shock. She knows. Of course she did. With the Thorne family's resources, investigating his past would be child's play. That meant from the moment she took him to Black Lake Manor, she knew about his missing memories. You got some nerve, Miss Thorne, Liam muttered, staring at the immovable woman. Naturally. She clearly took it as a compliment. A smirk touched her lips. I forbid you from going to see her. The words were an ultimatum, dripping with a possessive fire. That's not up to you, Liam chuckled, stepping over her ankles to head for the door. What a joke. Since when did he need anyone's permission to do anything? He had just passed her when her voice cut through the air, sharp and sudden. She won't see you. Why not? There is no why. It's not time yet. Time? What time? Liam was completely lost, his suspicion growing as he stared at her. But Cassandra's eyes darted away, her voice tinged with impatience. Look, she won't be showing her face today. Whatever you need, you can deal with it tomorrow. Her anger was boiling over. It was bad enough that he was distracted in her presence, but to keep insisting on seeing that woman. Were all the moments of intimacy they'd shared worth less than some childhood friendship? Seeing the confusion still clouding his face, Cassandra's patience snapped. She shot out a hand, grabbed his arm, and yanked him hard toward her. Caught off guard, Liam stumbled, his balance gone, and crashed onto the bed. Before he could react, Cassandra was on top of him, her cold eyes pinning him down. You mind? I won't allow you to think about anyone else. As the familiar madness flared in her eyes, Liam's own urgency grew. He grabbed her shoulders, his voice firm. Wait a second, Ms. Thorne. I believe your father made things perfectly clear yesterday. Our relationship is over. Who I see has nothing to do with you. How does it not concern me? She retorted without hesitation, leaning down to nip his earlobe, her voice a low, possessive whisper. I like you. You've belonged to me for a long time. The sudden, unexpected confession sent a jolt through Liam, freezing him in place. He had imagined every possible outcome, but never this. Never such a direct admission. Then again, given everything she'd done, she had always been this direct. Seeing him go still, Cassandra paused, the reality of her own words hitting her. What'd I just say? I said I like him? I actually said it out loud. She abruptly pushed herself up, staring at the silent Liam in astonishment. A faint blush crept up her pale cheeks, spreading to the tips of her ears. She stammered, flustered. The hand clutching his collar tightened, her heart hammering against her ribs. She bit her lip, suddenly unable to meet his gaze. She gritted her teeth, muttering under her breath, "Don't look at me like that. I just like you, and I won't let you think about anyone else. You can only be mine." Her voice, though shaky at first, grew firmer with each word, yet it was laced with a fragile fear of his rejection. Her clumsy, rambling confession reached him, and his initial shock melted into understanding. Pushing aside everything that had happened before, he looked at the ever-proud Cassandra Thorne, now flustered and defensive, and an unexpected urge to tease her arose. He cleared his throat, his voice raspy. "Ms. Thorne, have you ever actually been in a relationship?" "Why would I need to be?" She snapped back, her train of thought broken. "To be honest, I'm not great at it either, but I'm probably a little better than you. If you don't mind, I could teach you." A ghost of a smile touched Liam's lips. "Teach me?" "That's right." Liam nodded, his expression serious. "I can let you experience what it's really like. If that feeling isn't what you're looking for, then we might have to put a big question mark on this whole 'I like you' thing." At this, Cassandra's eyes darkened. She couldn't deny he had a point. She only knew she didn't want him to leave. As for how they would actually be together, she had no idea. Her feelings were a tangled mess. More importantly, if Liam was willing to date her now, wasn't this the perfect opportunity to drive Sylvia Shaw out of the picture for good? Considering this, she suppressed a surge of excitement, lifted her gaze to meet his, and gave a faint nod. "Good. Now, can you get up?" Liam said, seeing her nod. He tried to push himself up. "Why should I get up?" Cassandra asked, a hint of confusion in her eyes. "Because you're pinning me down, that's why." Liam shot back, glancing at the hands still pressed against his chest. Cassandra finally registered their position. She hastily pulled her hands back, her cheeks flushing a deep red as she watched him sit up. "Okay, I'm up. Now what?" "Now we go on a date," Liam said with a smile, straightening his clothes and buttoning his collar. He extended a hand to her. "Shall we, my girlfriend? How about we go shopping?" The word girlfriend made Cassandra visibly startled. Her face was still flushed as she frowned. "What's the point of shopping? If you need something, you can just have it delivered." She was every bit the pampered heiress. Liam sighed, stepping forward to turn her by the shoulders so she faced him. "When I say shopping, I don't just mean buying clothes." Cassandra arched an eyebrow, her tone cool. "Then what?" The joy of being alone together. Before she could argue, he grabbed her shoulders and pulled her to her feet as if plucking a radish from the ground. "The point isn't the shopping. The point is you and me, while we're shopping." His words struck a chord. She looked at him deeply, a flicker of understanding in her eyes. Glancing down at her haute couture gown, she said commandingly, "Wait for me. I need a change." "Deal." Liam nodded, then glanced at her feet. "And maybe change into some comfortable sneakers. Your feet will hurt after walking in those heels all day." Cassandra, who had been heading for the door, paused, shifting her feet awkwardly inside her shoes. She didn't say another word, simply opened the door and left. Outside the room, Riley and Evelyn, who had been waiting by the elevators, saw Cassandra emerge. Riley bounced over, a mischievous grin on her face. "Sis, how'd it go?" "Did you too?" "You know." Evelyn's eyes were wide with curiosity. Cassandra gave them both an icy glare and issued a command. "Give me a casual outfit. Liam and I are going shopping." Shopping." Riley froze. Her sister? Going shopping? Willingly? "Sis, if you need something, you can just have people get it for you. Why go through all the trouble?" Evelyn nodded in agreement, her face a mask of disbelief. She had served Cassandra for years and had never once seen her go shopping. Had she undergone a personality transplant? Cassandra shot her sister a look. "What do you know?" She then turned to Evelyn. "Notify the downtown shopping district. Have them close to the public this afternoon." The tone was an order. Evelyn didn't dare question it. "Yes, Ms. Thorne, right away." As Evelyn hurried off, Riley, not wanting to be a third wheel, was about to make an excuse to leave when Cassandra's voice stopped her. "Riley, go tell the housekeeper to prepare everything at the estate. Starting today, I'll be staying at the Landons." Her sister had finally seen the light. Riley could barely contain her excitement. This was long overdue. Proximity is everything, right? "You can count on me, sis," she declared, nodding enthusiastically. Evelyn was fast. Within minutes, a delivery from the nearest high-end boutique arrived. Two maids pushed a rack overflowing with clothes into the guest room, where Cassandra was sipping tea. "Ms. Thorne, the clothes you requested." Cassandra glanced up, pointing to a few items. When her gaze fell on the collection of high heels under the rack, Liam's words echoed in her mind. "Your feet will hurt after walking in those heels all day." A strange warmth spread through her chest. As Evelyn held out a dress, a rare, soft smile touched Cassandra's lips, and a pair of sneakers. The expression was so unfamiliar it startled Evelyn. She swallowed hard and nodded frantically. Of course, Ms. Thorne. When the newly changed Cassandra appeared at Liam's door, he was sitting on the sofa drinking tea. He looked up, and a flash of stunned admiration crossed his face. It was the first time he'd seen her in athletic wear. Her usual long gowns accentuated her alluring figure, but this sporty outfit gave her a different kind of sleek elegance. The tailored shorts and cropped t-shirt revealed a toned waist and incredibly long, slender legs. Her hair, usually down, was pulled into a high ponytail, giving her a vibrant energy. If only her eyes weren't so fiercely intense. He was so captivated he momentarily forgot what to say. Noticing his captivated stare, Cassandra smirked. She strode toward him and, in a fluid motion, propped one foot up on the sofa cushion next to his thigh, crossing her arms. "So, this is the look you're into," she purred, looking down at him with a knowing glint in her eyes. "Hiss." The maids who had followed her gasped. They had never seen such a bold display. Let's go, let's go. Don't disturb them," Evelyn whispered urgently, pulling the door shut. Glancing at her impossibly long, smooth leg, Liam cleared his throat to cover his reaction. "As long as it's you, I like any look." Cassandra, who had intended to tease him, was completely disarmed by his response. An unstoppable wave of excitement washed over her. She leaned in closer, her voice urgent. "Is that true?" "Of course." Liam nodded, his praise genuine. "You have an amazing figure, Ms. Thorne. I think you'd look good in anything." He meant it. He'd seen plenty of beautiful women, but Cassandra's physique was in a league of its own. It was one of the reasons he found it so hard to fight back during their confrontations. Beyond his rule of never hitting a woman, there was a more fundamental truth. She was a rose in full bloom, and Liam considered himself a normal man. He had no desire to crush such a flower. Cassandra saw the sincerity in his eyes. She reached out, her hand gently cupping his cheek, her voice insistent. "Are you still going to call me Miss Thorne?" Liam froze, then stammered, "See, Cassandra." She frowned, a clear sign of her displeasure. He swallowed hard, trying again, the name feeling foreign and awkward on his tongue. Cassandra. The sound of it sent a weird shiver down his spine, but, "Good. Call me that for now on. I like it," she purred, licking her lips contentedly, leaving him no room for argument. Liam's mouth twitched. "All right," he said, forcing the words out. "So, shall we go shopping?" He gestured with his eyes toward the leg still propped up beside him. Cassandra understood. She lowered her leg and, in a surprisingly natural movement, linked her arm with his. The warmth of her body against his arm sent a wave of heat through him. He was surprised by the change. Maybe this version of Cassandra wasn't so bad, far better than the one who relied on torture and force. They took the elevator down together. The main lobby was buzzing with a dozen servants preparing for that evening's gala. Lawrence Landon was entertaining guests in one of the grand halls, so the younger generation had free reign. Liam and Cassandra walked out of the mansion, her arms still linked with his. Evelyn was already waiting with the car. As they drove off, neither of them noticed Sylvia Shaw watching from an upstairs window, her expression turning dark as she saw their intimate posture. The commercial district, as the most prosperous street in NYC, it was lined with luxury boutiques and was always teeming with people. Liam had wandered through here before on his days off, but today it was utterly deserted. The moment their car turned onto the main thoroughfare, Liam's jaw tightened. You didn't book the entire street, did you?" Beside him, Cassandra sat perfectly poised. She glanced out the window, but didn't answer. Her silence was answer enough. "You really are something else," Liam muttered, clearing out an entire shopping district just to take a walk. He was just venting. He knew her style and had half expected this. However, Cassandra seemed to think he was genuinely upset. "I paid them," she explained, her voice cool, her grip tightening on his arm. "I don't like crowds." It was a rare explanation from her. "You could have just said so," Liam replied. "We could have gone to a private theater to watch a movie. We have a screening room at home. Why would I go out? We could grab a bite to eat. A food truck festival. The chefs at the estate are world-class. They can make anything you want." Then, a few back and forths, and Liam was completely stumped. When he thought about it, the great Cassandra Thorne wanted for nothing. All his typical date ideas were things she could accomplish with a snap of her fingers. He was in a bind, but he'd already offered to teach her how to date. He couldn't back out now. Racking his brain, his eyes fell on a sign flashing past the window, the asylum escape room. "Stop," he told Evelyn, pointing out the window. How about we try a haunted house? Very few women were immune to a good scare, or at least the terrifying atmosphere. But more than scaring her, Liam was suddenly curious to see what the ice-cold Cassandra Thorne would look like if she was afraid. It had to be priceless. For Cassandra, the destination didn't matter. What mattered was being with Liam. She looked calmly at his excited face. Whatever you want. Great. I'll go get tickets, Liam said, quickly opening the car door and hopping out. As the door closed, Evelyn watched him go, then glanced nervously at her boss in the rearview mirror. Cassandra was no longer as calm as she had been. She leaned forward slightly. Evelyn, she asked curiously, when a girl goes to a haunted house, is she supposed to act scared? Evelyn nearly jumped out her skin. Well, generally, if a woman acts scared, it can trigger a man's protective instincts. She stammered, staring in disbelief at Cassandra's thoughtful expression in the mirror. This is bad, she thought. My boss is completely down bad. She's asking for dating strategies. Evelyn deeply regretted coming on this trip. She should have let Haley drive. Oh, Cassandra said coolly. She straightened her clothes and motioned for Evelyn to open the door. Evelyn scrambled out to open the door for her just as Liam returned with the tickets. Good thing you didn't clear the staff out of this place too, Liam joked, casually holding out his arm. Cassandra didn't reply, but she obediently took his arm, and they walked into the building together. The moment they passed through the main doors, the environment plunged into darkness. A long hallway was lit only by a few flickering, old-fashioned oil lamps. Liam had bought tickets for the advanced asylum scenario. A normal escape room would be too boring for him. Besides, his main goal was to see Cassandra crack. The heavy door creaked shut behind them. A few blue lights flickered to life in the pitch-black room, accompanied by a chilling musical score. The escape room experience had officially begun. The walls, illuminated by the flashing blue light, were scrawled with a single, bloody word: run. A synthesized voice echoed from the ceiling. Players must cross the hallway in under 3 minutes. The moment the voice faded, the nearest door burst open and a figure in a white robe, a talisman stuck to its forehead and hair completely disheveled, lunged out, screeching and snarling at them. Arg! The figure moved with terrifying speed, closing the distance in just a few steps. Liam stood his ground, a complex expression on his face as he watched the ghost. Beside him, Cassandra saw the creature rushing toward them. She bit her lip, her brow furrowed, Evelyn's words echoing in her mind. Act scared. She thought for a moment, then tightened her grip on Liam's arm and shouted, with absolutely zero emotion. I'm so scared. Liam, the ghost. The atmosphere turned profoundly awkward. The terrifying sound effects only served to make her deadpan delivery more comical. Annoyed, Cassandra ruffled her own hair, deliberately changing the subject. So, we're supposed to cross the hallway now, right? Liam looked at her, his expression a mixture of amusement and disbelief. I guess so. Oh, the performance had flopped, and she was irritated. Annoyed, she pulled a few crisp $100 bills from her pocket, held them out to the ghost, and ordered, "Hurry up and get out of the way. Let us pass." The ghost's eyes lit up at the sight of the cash. He snatched the bills with both hands, his demeanor instantly shifting from terrifying to fawning. Right away. This way, please. Liam's mouth twitched. He had never imagined Cassandra would resort to such tactics. What followed was a procession of her strolling through the haunted house, tossing money at every monster that jumped out. The entire escape room experience, aside from the special effects, was surprisingly welcoming. He could feel the enthusiasm from the ghosts. Even demons from the Hell's Cape attraction next door started showing up for a tip. This way, ma'am. Ma'am, that's just a prop. Don't mind it. It's just for show. Ma'am, there are some fake limbs up ahead. Let me kick them out of the way for you. The various ghouls flocked to her, like she was a walking ATM, each one more eager to please than the last. Cassandra, however, looked like she'd discovered a new continent. This is actually pretty fun, she said, a hint of amusement in her voice. The props are very realistic. Yeah, they just didn't get to perform their intended function, Liam muttered. But what could he do? The lady had paid. Might as well get into it. Liam wiped a hand on a blood-splattered wall, smeared the fake gore on his own cheek, and made a goofy face at her. Bleg! Cassandra stopped, a genuine smile breaking through her icy facade. What, you want a tip too? Liam raised an eyebrow and held open his jacket pocket. I wasn't going to ask, but if you're offering, I guess I have no choice but to accept. His playful act made her laugh. She pulled a black card from her wallet and tossed it into his pocket. Here, spend it however you like. In the flickering lamplight, Liam caught a glimpse of the card. It was a top-tier black card from a prestigious Swiss bank, the Supreme Edition. The only card of its kind that didn't require a pin, only the cardholder's signature. He'd heard of them, but never seen one. Compared to this, the millions in his own account felt like pocket change. Seeing the flicker of excitement on his face, Cassandra felt a deep sense of satisfaction. Since we're a couple now, my money is your money. The statement was also a warning. She was the one giving, and she held the power to take it all back. She was willing to be generous now that they were an item, but if he tried to run, that would be a different story. But to Liam, her words had a very different meaning. If I find a chance to cash this out and make a run for it, what can you do to stop me? With that thought, he clutched the card in his pocket and smiled. Then I'll be sure to take good care of it. Of course. Seeing his careful gesture, Cassandra felt a wave of unprecedented joy. He was cherishing the gift she gave him. He did like her. As they neared the exit, Cassandra surveyed the trail of grateful ghosts following them, a triumphant smirk on her face. This game was great. A lot of fun. Yeah, for you, Liam thought. You came in and made the whole place happy. He patted his pocket, reassured by the solid rectangle of the card. They exited the escape room and got back in the car. Where to next? Cassandra asked, still in high spirits. Liam looked at the deserted streets. Let's go to the amusement park. He quickly added, if you wear a mask, we won't have to book the whole place. Without a second thought, Cassandra agreed and ordered Evelyn to drive. In the driver's seat, Evelyn looked at her boss in disbelief, then at the calm-faced Liam clutching his pocket. Such childish games. And my boss is completely falling for it. She floored the accelerator, heading for Riverside Amusement Park. Though it wasn't a weekend, the park was still busy. After Liam and Cassandra got out, Evelyn drove off to wait in a nearby lot. The late afternoon sun cast a warm glow over the park. The air was filled with the sweet scent of flowers from the numerous gardens, and a nearby path was lined with food stalls. After paying for tickets, they walked into the park. Mister, buy a flower for your girlfriend. It was a classic park scenario. The moment they entered, a little boy selling roses approached them. Liam looked up from his phone. How much of the whole bouquet? He asked the boy. All of it, the boy asked, stunned, pointing to the bundle of roses in his arms. All of it. They're $10 each, and I have $99. The boy's voice trailed off, his confidence wavering. I'll take them all, Liam said decisively, scanning the boy's payment code and sending $1,000. The phone chimed with the payment notification. The boy looked at Liam in disbelief, then joyfully handed over the entire armful of flowers. Liam accepted them with a smile and turned to Cassandra. Here, for you. Cassandra, who had been silent, looked at him with a knowing, teasing glint in her eyes. He was looking for succor. The unspoken question was, you fell for such an obvious trick? Liam just smiled. I know. He held the massive bouquet out to her. I wasn't buying the flowers. I was buying the smile on your face. I was buying the atmosphere, the romance, the giddy feeling of you, the great Cassandra Thorne, playing these childish games with me. Money can be earned again. A moment of happiness, once lost, is gone forever. His smiling eyes met hers over the top of the flowers. For a second, time seemed to freeze. The hustle and bustle of the park faded away, leaving only the two of them. He was trying to make her happy. His eyes were full of her. An unprecedented wave of euphoria washed over her. Nothing had ever made her happier than this moment. A real, spontaneous laugh escaped her lips as she took the flowers. I love them. I'm glad. Come on, I'll buy you some sparklers. We can set them off by the bridge when it gets dark. Without waiting for an answer, he grabbed her wrist and pulled her deeper into the park. The hand holding hers felt intensely hot, the warmth spreading straight to her heart. She knew this was childish, but in these childish moments, she found herself completely captivated. As long as she was with Liam, every silly thing became fun, as if the world had always been this beautiful. In this moment, she felt she could close her eyes and let him lead her anywhere. She wanted this joy to last forever. She wanted to spend her life with Liam. She didn't know if it was the right decision, but, here, this is yours. Want me to light it? Just as she was lost in her thoughts, Liam's voice pulled her back. He had placed the flowers on the ground and was now handing her a sparkler. Cassandra nodded numbly. There, on the bridge as twilight settled, Liam lit the sparkler in her hand. It burst to life with a shower of light, and her heart skipped a beat. Through the fizzing, brilliant colors, she saw Liam's smiling face, shimmering and indistinct. In that moment, she felt a profound certainty. Her heart had given her its answer. Romance to the very end. On this perfectly ordinary Wednesday, she had found love. Ms. Thorne, thank you for tonight. In front of the Landon estate, Evelyn pulled the car to a stop. As Liam reached for the door handle, his polite but distant words signified that his one-day dating trial had expired. But before he could get out, Cassandra opened her own door and strode toward the mansion. Liam froze. "It's so late," he asked Evelyn, confused. "Isn't your boss going home?" "Ms. Thorne has already spoken with Mr. Landon. She will be staying here for the time being," Evelyn replied coolly, grabbing files from the trunk. The words hit Liam like a physical blow. "Wait, staying here?" "Yes. In the room right next to yours," Evelyn said, before hurrying inside with an armful of documents. Liam was dumbfounded. He scrambled after them, squeezing into the elevator just before the doors closed. Cassandra stood with her arms crossed, saying nothing, but her thoughtful gaze kept flicking toward him. Her stare made his skin crawl. He wanted to say something, but had no idea where to start. This was bad. He had planned to use this time to cash out and disappear. He never intended to stay at the Landon estate for long. And now, Cassandra was moving in right next door. Was this another form of imprisonment? He couldn't let things remain so passive. Watching Cassandra disappear into the room next to his, Liam thought for a moment, then got back in the elevator and headed down. When the doors opened on the ground floor, Jason, the head of security, was standing there with a cheerful smile. The dim lighting of the elevator bay made the scene more terrifying than any escape room. Liam felt a wave of suffocation. He narrowed his eyes and snapped. "Where I go is none of your business, is it?" Jason seemed taken aback by his aggressive tone, but recovered quickly. "You misunderstand, young master. I just want to know your destination so I could arrange a car for you." "Not necessary," Liam scoffed, stepping out of the elevator. "Just give me the keys." "Of course." Jason smiled, pulling several sets of keys from his pocket. "Please, take your pick, young master." Liam, in no mood for games, snatched a random set and headed for the garage. As Liam's figure disappeared, the smile vanished from Jason's face. He turned and walked to the study on the first floor. Closing the door behind him, he bowed respectfully to the figure inside. "Sir, I believe young Master Liam has recovered his memory." "Has he?" In the darkened room, Lawrence Landon swiveled his chair around. His expression was grim, but a sudden, chilling smile spread across his face. "Good. Let him recover. If he couldn't remember, the game wouldn't be any fun, would it?" His voice was a low growl, like a demon whispering from the depths of hell. Jason visibly shivered. He hurried forward and, spotting empty prescription bottles on the desk, cried out in alarm. "Sir, is it happening again?" "Huh." Lawrence let out a cold laugh, his face twisting into a terrifying grimace. One look was all it took for Jason to understand. He quickly helped Lawrence into a wheelchair and pushed him into a private elevator, descending to the sub-basement. Inside the hidden room, Jason wheeled Lawrence to a medical bed, skillfully handed him a 2-centimeter thick steel pipe, and then quickly left. The moment the heavy door sealed shut, Lawrence's crazed, furious roars echoed through the chamber. "Eleanor, you dare say I'm weak. I won't let anyone mock me. Even in death, you will suffer." After leaving the Landon estate, Liam went to find Brandon Jung and got his old phone back from the Zenith Corp office. He turned it on and saw dozens of unread messages. The first were from Chloe. "Brother Liam, why are you on a reality show? I just saw it. You're trending online. I'm so swamped with work. I'm so jealous you get to go out and have fun. Why is Riley Thorne on the show too? Brother Liam, don't get too close to her. You're just faking the romance for the show, right? Why does it feel like I'm getting further and further away from you? Oh my God. Brother Liam, you're a Landon. Wow. Congratulations on finally finding your family. Why aren't you answering me? Didn't your show already end? Did you change your number?" The last message was from 2 nights ago. She hadn't sent anything since. She must be heartbroken. He didn't have deep feelings for this sister, but now that he was back with the Landons, she was, in fact, his blood relative. He felt a pang of pity. He thought for a moment and typed out a reply. "Sorry, I just got my phone back. Just seeing these now." Next was Leo. His messages were similar to Chloe's, a deluge of shock about the show and his return to the Landon family. The last 2 were particularly amusing. "Dude, you're not answering my texts? Is that how it is now? After all we've been through? I'll lend you money, man. The least you could do is text back. My brother from another mother. Don't forget the little people when you're rich and famous. /crying_emoji. The messages made Liam laugh. He replied, "Just got my phone. Sorry, man. Seeing this now." As expected, Leo, a certified night owl, replied almost instantly. "Holy shit, a ghost. Bro, you're alive?" "Liam, of course I'm alive. I'm a living, breathing person. What, you think I died?" "Leo, don't even joke about that. You're a rich heir now, man. You gotta be careful with your life." "Liam, right? So, are you still at the convenience store?" "Leo, yeah, but Brenda opened 2 more locations, so she has managers running them. It's a slow season now. The influencer hype only lasts so long. We're just breaking even. That was what Liam expected. He decided to extend an offer. How about you come work for me as my driver? I don't have many people I can trust here. I'll pay you $10,000 a month. Though they'd met as colleagues, Leo had lent him money without asking questions. In Liam's book, that made him a true friend. Not to mention, Leo had been fired from Zenith Corp because of him. Instantly, a series of crying emojis popped up from Leo. For real? Bro, are you about to show me the high life? Liam kept it simple. 3 words. You in or out? Leo, send me the address. I'm on my way. Liam smiled and sent his location. Meanwhile, in a guest room at the Landon estate, Evelyn stood respectfully before her boss, who was staring out the floor-to-ceiling window. Cassandra held a few documents, her gaze wandering over the garden below. She glanced at Evelyn out of the corner of her eye, her voice cold. Are you certain this is all the information on the Shaw family? Evelyn nodded. Yes, everything on the Shaw family for the past few years is in this file. Cassandra fell silent, her eyes fixed on the documents, her thoughts unreadable. Seeing this, Evelyn couldn't help but speak up. Ms. Thorne, the Shaw family has no business dealings with us, so I hadn't paid them much attention before. But looking at these files, something feels very strange. Cassandra raised an eyebrow, signaling for her to continue. The Shaws arrived in New York 5 years ago and founded their company then. Logically, even with Sylvia Shaw's talent, becoming one of the city's top 100 companies would have been a miracle. But in just 1 year, Shaw Pharma has cornered nearly half of the city's private medical market. Evelyn's voice grew quieter as she spoke. The rapid rise of Hamilton Industries under Liam's guidance had been shocking enough, but the logistics industry at the time wasn't a closed market. With enough capital and vision, carving out a slice wasn't impossible. But the medical industry was different. It had been monopolized from the beginning. Besides the branches controlled by the 4 families, the Thornes themselves had a stake, and the rest was tightly controlled by the directorate, a practically unshakable foundation. To build something from scratch, forget 5 years, even 50 would be difficult, let alone to the current scale of Shaw Pharma. Evelyn's gaze flickered downward, not daring to continue. Cassandra, however, just smiled. You trying to say she has a powerful backer? Meeting Cassandra's all-seeing gaze, Evelyn's heart skipped a beat. She nodded. I have heard the Shaw name before, Cassandra said, her voice low and tinged with memory. Years ago, when I first took over the family business, my father told me that beyond the 7 continents, there are many independent medical dynasties. Most of them went into hiding to avoid the wars. Her finger tapped the file. It's not out of the question that the Shaws are one of them. Then, does that mean we can't touch Sylvia Shaw? Evelyn's face paled. Zenith was used to being untouchable. In NYC, wherever the Thornes went, people flocked to them. Having lived such a privileged life, the sudden appearance of someone they couldn't control was unsettling. This was no longer just about Liam. If the Shaws were allowed to grow, to monopolize the medical field, even the Thornes might have to yield. Patience. In contrast to Evelyn's alarm, Cassandra was perfectly calm. She studied the file for a moment, then said, have Palmer and his team shadow Liam. I want to know what he's up to, and tell them not to be seen. Yes, Ms. Thorne. Evelyn nodded, but hesitated, looking at Cassandra with a worried expression. Noticing her stare, Cassandra frowned. What is it, Ms. Thorne? Shouldn't we be more cautious of the Shaw family? At the rate they're growing, what if they arrange a marriage with the Landons? Evelyn's voice trailed off. She didn't dare finish the thought under Cassandra's suddenly glacial stare. A cold smirk touched Cassandra's lips. Do you think I would let her succeed? But what if? Evelyn pressed, risking a reprimand. Based on Liam's repeated attempts to escape, it wasn't out of the question. More importantly, she was by Cassandra's side every day. She could see that her boss had fallen for Liam, but he clearly didn't return the feelings. Lost in the haze of a new romance, Cassandra couldn't see it. But as an observer, Evelyn saw everything clearly. She couldn't stand by and watch her be ruined by a crush. At her words, Cassandra's gaze unfocused, as if seeing a vision of Liam and Sylvia Shaw, happy and in love. A bloodthirsty smile curled her lips, her aura expanding to fill the room, raw and overbearing. Then I'll take him. There is nothing in this world that I, Cassandra Thorne, cannot have. Especially Liam. He was the only thing she wanted. Even if it meant building a gilded cage, she would trap him and keep him for a lifetime. Her sharp words fell like blades, and Evelyn felt a shiver run down her spine. She quickly wiped a bead of sweat from her forehead. Cassandra's focus returned, the manic energy vanishing as quickly as it had appeared, replaced by her usual cold indifference. Go. I know what I'm doing. Seeing this, Evelyn dared not say more. Yes, Ms. Thorne. Understood. Liam, my man, it's late. Where are we going? Leo rubbed his hands together, cautiously getting into the passenger seat and looking around the luxury car with wide, curious eyes. Liam glanced at him, an eyebrow raised. Leo, we're friends, right? The sudden question caught Leo off guard. He tensed up. Of course, man. We haven't known each other that long, but I know what kind of person you are. He watched Liam's thoughtful expression and swallowed. What's up? Are the Landons giving you a hard time? Liam shook his head. Not that. Oh, good, good. Leo breathed a sigh of relief. If they were, I wouldn't be much help anyway. He trailed off, then asked seriously, do you have an offshore account? Nah, man, Leo said, a hint of resentment in his voice. My main bank account is still frozen. Zenith said they'd compensate me, but the lawsuit is still dragging on 3 months later. I'm living off my secondary card. Halfway through, Leo stopped, realization dawning. He looked at Liam. Bro, you're not thinking of. Leo was a smart guy. Despite his laid-back demeanor, he had a sharp mind. It only took Liam a few words for him to get it. Right? I need to borrow your identity. But don't worry, it's just a deposit money. I won't do anything else. You'll be with me for every transfer. My current identity is inconvenient. Liam paused, then added, and of course, we'll draw up a contract. Leo understood completely. A long-lost heir suddenly returning to a powerful family. The situation was bound to be complicated. And Liam was treating him like a brother, calling him first, offering him a 6-figure salary just to drive. But this involved his own financial record. He asked uncertainly, just for deposits? Yes. And in a few days, I need to go abroad for something. You'll have to come with me. You'll have full knowledge of everything related to the account. Leo thought for a moment, then said seriously, then we'll need 2 copies of every deposit and withdrawal receipt. Exactly what I was thinking. Liam nodded, his expression solemn. Then it's no problem. With all the information laid out, Leo agreed readily. We can go open the account tomorrow. We'll also need a third-party guarantor. Leo wasn't a fool. If Liam did something shady behind his back, he could never afford the kind of damages a family like the Landons could inflict. He couldn't risk his entire future, not even for a friend. Liam considered this. Then a slow smile spread across his face. How about P6.She? What? Chloe? Leo shot up in his seat. Liam just smiled. She's my biological sister. How about her as a guarantor? This was no longer a chat between friends. It was a business transaction. The unexpected news left Leo dumbfounded. He stared, speechless, stammering, She's your real sister. Then she. The Landon family doesn't seem to place much value on their granddaughters, Liam stated flatly, and the whole story clicked into place for Leo. You mean your grandfather only looked for you? He never even tried to find Chloe? That's one possibility, Liam nodded. Or he knew about her all along and simply didn't want her back. Leo's eyes widened, his mouth hanging open. He didn't know what to say. So many people envied Liam's life, the lost heir returning to a wealthy dynasty. He'd heard customers at the convenience store gossiping about how lucky Liam was. But the truth of these powerful families, the dangers lurking beneath the surface, were only known to those inside. Now he finally understood the saying, what outsiders see is only what the rich want them to see. Once he agreed, he and Liam would be tied together. He looked at Liam carefully and asked, Can I trust you? You have no choice but to trust me. Liam's words landed, and the entire situation clicked for Leo. From the moment he answered Liam's call, he was already on the boat. He gave Liam a long look, sighed, and managed a weak smile. You're one hell of a guy. All right, I get it. So what now? We go find Chloe. First, the bank, Liam said, slamming his foot on the accelerator. Leo glanced at the dark sky outside. Bro, the banks are closed. Are they? Liam didn't slow down. He pushed the pedal to the floor. They'll open. There was nothing in this world money couldn't solve. If there was, it just meant you hadn't offered enough. Liam was right. He showed the night shift manager the black card, and within minutes, the bank's director arrived in person to greet them. Mr. Landon, you only had a call. There was no need for you to come in person, the director said, beaming as he personally poured tea for Liam and Leo in the VIP lounge. Leo had never experienced such treatment. The few times he'd gone to a bank, he was lucky if he didn't get attitude. Now, in the middle of the night, the director himself was serving them with a smile. For the first time, Leo got a taste of the life of a rich young master. Liam's next words nearly made him spit out his tea. I need to withdraw the $1.5 million from my account in cash and transfer another $15 million from this black card to that account. Are you kidding me? Leo, a big guy, shrank into his seat, stealing nervous glances at Liam. Was this the power of the super rich? Just casually dropping 8-figure sums? Wait, did Liam just say all that money was going into his account? Right away, Mr. Landon, the director said respectfully, taking the 2 cards. Leo swallowed hard, looking at Liam completely at a loss. He suddenly felt his earlier worries were ridiculous. He was worried about what Liam might do with his account. It should be the other way around. Liam should be worried about him running off with the money. Over $16 million. Even though it wasn't his, just having that kind of money flow through his account would set him up for life. He was suddenly grateful he had suggested a third-party guarantor. If he hadn't, and Liam had found someone else for this job, he would have kicked himself. Don't worry, I'll pay you a fee for using your name, Liam explained. No. Leo waved his hands frantically. Bro, use it however you want. Just let me stick with you. Forget running away with the money. If he did that, he'd have the entire Landon family hunting him down. Besides, what was running compared to working with his friend? Knowing Liam, he'd be well taken care of. His best friend was a rich heir, which basically meant he was one too. Soon, the director returned with a large briefcase and the 2 cards. After getting the cash, Liam didn't rush off. He drove around the city for a while, found a leather goods store that was still open late, and bought a large suitcase. Back in the car, they transferred the stacks of cash into the new case. Leo held a few thick wads of bills, his eyes wide. The sudden proximity to such a huge sum of money made him nervous, and the clandestine act of moving it in the dark car had him sweating. By the time they finished, the sky was beginning to lighten. Chloe, an early riser, was up just after 5. As soon as they had the money secured, Liam received a text from her. He drove to her apartment building. The moment he walked in, before Chloe could even say hello, Liam laid out his purpose for being there. Chloe hesitated. Her eyes flickered with indecision. Brother Liam, I do like you, and I've missed you, but for you to come here and ask for this, and with so much money involved, I don't think it's appropriate. I know, but you're the only one who can do this. I don't have many friends. Liam, having expected her refusal, replied automatically. But halfway through his sentence, he froze. Wait, what did you just say? Beside him, Leo's eyes went wide, his gaze darting nervously between Chloe and Liam, his face a mask of pure shock. Meeting their stunned gazes, Chloe grew flustered. She wrung her hands. I don't think it's appropriate. Not that part. Liam cut her off. The first part. What did you say before that? The memory returned, and seeing Liam's shocked expression, Chloe's face turned bright red. She looked down, fidgeting with her hands. I like you, she mumbled. I wasn't going to say anything, but then I saw you on the show with Riley Thorne, and I got so angry. Her voice dwindled to a whisper. Her head bowed low as a deep blush spread from her cheeks to her ears. Liam was dumbstruck, looking as if he'd been struck by lightning. Leo's shocked gaze bounced between the two of them. The atmosphere dropped to absolute zero, thick with a palpable and excruciating awkwardness. Chloe swallowed hard, her hands twisting together. Brother Liam, I know this is sudden, she stammered, but you feel so far away from me now. I felt if I didn't say it, I might never get the chance. She blinked hard, fighting back tears, her voice a low, vulnerable whisper. Dude, you too. Leo started, raising a hand to pat Liam's back before letting it hang in midair. He finally just gave him a thumbs up. Impressive. This was beyond shocking. His own sister was in love with him. It was insane. Liam was too stunned to speak. But Chloe wasn't finished. Brother Liam, can you please not reject me right away? This is the first time I've ever liked someone. I know you're Landon now, and I'm a nobody, but I'll be happy just watching you from afar. Please don't block me. She was terrified that after baring her soul, he would cut her off completely. If her carefully guarded courage resulted in that, she would rather have never confessed at all. Seeing her desperate, pleading expression, Liam felt a tremor run through him. He opened his mouth and, after a long struggle, forced out the words. You can like anyone. Anyone but me. Why not? Chloe suddenly flared up, her face flushed with indignation. Liking you is my right. You can't take away my freedom to like you, can you? No, I can't. Liam's expression was a storm of conflict. He met her fiery gaze and finally said the words that had to be said. Chloe, I am your brother. Your real brother. The sentence hit her like a bolt of lightning. No, it's not possible. She had fantasized at the beginning that Liam might be her brother, but after getting to know him, she realized her feelings had changed. Watching him on the show, getting close to Riley Thorne, had made her heart ache. His silence after the show ended had left her miserable. Weren't those all signs of love? And now he was telling her he was her long-lost brother. Chloe's eyes widened in disbelief. What? What did you say? He said he's your real brother, Leo repeated softly. I saw the DNA report. It's real. He finally understood. She didn't know. He had thought. Well, it seemed he'd been mistaken. Knowing Chloe and Liam had added some color to his post-corporate life. Chloe was like a little sister, always complaining about work when they ate together. After he left Zenith, he tried to hang out with her, but she always had an excuse. Eventually, he stopped asking. But now, to see her muster the courage to confess, only to find out the man was her brother. Could anything be more painful? Leo looked at her with pity. The only words that came to mind were, "My condolences." Liam shot Leo an exasperated look before turning back to Chloe, his own face filled with guilt and concern. "I should have told you sooner. I just wasn't sure at the time, and the situation with the Landons." "I know." At the mention of the Landons, Chloe's rationality seemed to return. She cut him off, her voice strangely flat. "My grandfather told me about them. I should have figured it out sooner." She covered her face with her hands in frustration. "Your grandfather told you?" Liam asked urgently. Chloe nodded, her voice muffled and choked with sobs. "After you left my place that time, my grandparents told me I was a Landon, that the family looked down on my mother's." She trailed off. "I should have connected the dots. You, the long-lost Landon heir. I should have known." She mumbled the words over and over, then looked up, her face a painful mask of tear-streaked laughter. "It's my fault. I've been so busy. I didn't even have time to think." Her words gave Liam pause. If she already knew, there was no reason for this delayed reaction unless she truly hadn't been paying attention. He frowned. "Zenith sent you on an out-of-state assignment recently?" Chloe looked startled, then gave a bitter smile. "You even know about that? Right after my promotion, they sent me to handle a contract. The president of that company was a total psycho. He made me attend a month-long training seminar and wouldn't let us use our phones. He dragged it out for a whole month before finally signing." "Whoa, a month? That's brutal," Leo exclaimed. "Yeah, but luckily I met this woman at the hotel. She was super nice. Said she knew someone who could help, and after that, the contract was signed without a hitch." "You really lucked out," Leo remarked. "She must be some big shot. You should take her out to dinner, make a connection." Chloe shook her head. "No." She said I reminded her of her younger self, and just wanted to help. She didn't even leave a number. "You hit the jackpot." As Leo marveled at her luck, Liam's brow furrowed. "What was the name of that company?" "Gua Renovations." Chloe pulled out her phone and showed him a screenshot. There was nothing obviously wrong with the contract details, but Liam's experience told him nothing that happens during a negotiation is irrelevant. He thought for a moment, then asked, "And the woman who helped you, do you know her name?" Chloe shook her head, then her memory sparked. "I think I heard her assistant call her Ms. Shaw once. Sylvia something." Before she could finish, Liam stated it as a fact. "Sylvia Shaw? Brother Liam, you know her?" Chloe gasped. Liam didn't answer. He was just stunned that he had guessed right. Sylvia had already approached his sister. She was trying to curry favor with him by going through Chloe first. Though his memory had returned, he still didn't know for sure who had been in that room with the electric shackles, though he suspected it was Lawrence Landon. As for Sylvia, that part of his memory was still distant. It was a fact that she had saved him. If she required repayment, he would provide it, but that wasn't a reason to go back to her. He had to admit, he was a selfish person. The things he had endured over the years had taught him not to trust anyone easily. "I can't believe you're my brother," Chloe mumbled, staring at the pensive Liam, her face a mess of emotions. Leo couldn't take it anymore. He opened his arms and offered Chloe a sympathetic hug. "Just let it out, Chloe. I feel for you. Who needs your sympathy?" Chloe sniffed, crossing her arms. "I'm not that fragile." Surprised by her resilience, Leo let his arms drop, scratching his head awkwardly. Putting aside the shock of his sister's confession, Liam found Chloe's reaction to be quite normal. Her difficult childhood had forged a resilient, optimistic spirit. That was a good thing. "It's actually good that you're my brother," Chloe said, comforting herself out loud. She looked at Liam. "Brother, should I quit my job and come back to the Landon estate with you? What about our mother? And our grandparents might not approve," Liam said, the title still feeling unnatural on his tongue. "It's fine. My grandparents told me everything. They said I should live my own life. And don't worry about Mom. After my raise, I moved her to a top-tier private room. I even hired a 24/7 caregiver for her. It's all taken care of." Chloe pulled out her phone. "See? I have cameras for the house and the hospital. I can check on her anytime." Liam leaned over to look at the screen. Carol Xia was in a wheelchair, being carefully fed by an attendant. His expression darkened. "Wow, that's a professional setup. How much does that run you a month?" Leo asked, peering over. At this, Chloe puffed out her chest with pride. $2,500. The caregiver is a certified professional. It took me a week on a waiting list to get her. Man, I had no idea caregivers were so expensive, Leo marveled. She's on call 24/7, even stays overnight. And she's super nice. Her son got married a few days ago, and I even sent a $300 wedding gift. As the two of them talked, Liam sank into thought. He watched Chloe for a long moment, then cleared his throat. Chloe snapped back to the present, quickly putting her phone away. So, since you're my brother, I can be the guarantor. But I have to ask, what are you doing with all this money? She was dying of curiosity. If Liam was starting his own business, she would quit her job and go work with him in a heartbeat. Nothing would be more motivating than working alongside her own brother. Leo was curious too. Liam had said he was going on a business trip, but why would that require so much cash in someone else's bank account? What was he planning? Liam's eyes twinkled. Nothing big, just starting a small enterprise. A small enterprise? Chloe's eyes lit up. Brother, can I work with you? Leo was more pragmatic. Liam, starting a small business in this climate, without the right backing. It's a death sentence. He was reminding Liam to use the Landon family's resources if he could. This wasn't a game. One misstep and he could lose everything. Liam understood his concern. Don't worry, he said with a smile. I've got it under control. He looked at them both. In a few days, I'm going to launch a few small mobile games. Leo, I need you to drive traffic. I'll transfer money to your card. Don't worry about anything else. Just pour every cent I give you into the games. Holy crap, you want me to be a whale? To just go crazy spending money in a game? Leo's eyes widened with excitement. Liam nodded with a grin. Exactly. Play however you want. When you get tired of one account, make another. Spend as much as you want. Leo was already rubbing his hands together in anticipation. Chloe, a top finance grad, instantly understood what Liam was planning. Her eyes flashed. Brother, the taxes on a gaming startup are pretty steep. Leo, also a top student, sobered up, looking at Liam with concern. It's fine, Liam said. As long as we have enough starting capital, we don't need to worry about that. So we're like your business partners. Leo exclaimed, clapping Chloe on the shoulder. Liam didn't speak, just watched Chloe. Chloe understood. She looked at Liam with hopeful eyes. Can I do it too, brother? I want to be a rich gamer girl. I don't want to work anymore. If you don't want to, then quit, Liam laughed. When this is all over, I'll give you both a cut of the profits. Minimum this much. He held up one finger. 100,000? Leo whispered. Liam's mouth twitched. He slapped Leo on the back. Think bigger, man. $1 million. Bigger. $10 million. Chloe stammered. When Liam smiled and nodded, she let out a shriek and jumped to her feet. Holy hell, why am I still working? I quit. I'm quitting right now. Leo grabbed Liam's hand, his eyes filled with emotional tears. Brother, I have no words. You are my savior. Leo, I'm telling you, that trip to the Maldives you suggested was lame. Let's go to a private island. Chloe was already on her phone, searching for luxury travel destinations. It's too hot for an island this time of year. I think we should head north where it's cooler. Leo leaned over, and the two of them were instantly lost in a heated debate about where to go on vacation. Watching their excited, passionate discussion, Liam's eyes grew cold and distant. I'm sorry, he thought. Unfortunately, I am a complete and total pragmatist. Images flashed through his mind. Chloe, Leo, the Landons, Sylvia Shaw, and finally, the image of Cassandra Thorne. A determined glint hardened his eyes. You are all my wings, and I don't care about the process. In my world, freedom is the only ending I'll accept. By the way, brother Liam, Chloe asked suddenly, her excitement giving way to nervousness. Should I come back to the Landon estate with you now? Leo also looked over, a concerned expression on his face. Liam thought for a moment. If you want to, you can come back right now. Liam, you said the situation with the Landons is complicated. Is it really safe for Chloe to go back now? Leo voiced his hesitation. Right now, Liam was in the spotlight while they were in the shadows. They could support each other. Exposing Chloe too early might put her in danger. Faced with the staggering sums of a powerful family, Leo's own courage had shrunk. Chloe looked at Liam with the same worry. It wasn't that she was scared for herself, but she was afraid of becoming a liability to her brother. She'd seen enough TV shows where villains used family as leverage. Before, she was alone. Now that she had a brother, if someone used one of them to threaten the other, things would get messy. Everyone in the room was smart enough to understand the risks. Liam had, of course, already considered this. He smiled at Leo. You think when I hired you as my driver, they wouldn't find out? His words made both Leo and Chloe freeze. You're right, Liam. They must be monitoring you 24/7, Leo realized. Liam nodded. Instead of letting them use sneaky tactics, it's better for Chloe to reveal her identity as soon as possible. Once it's clear she's my sister, it will actually be harder for them to make a move against her. That makes sense. Leo gave Liam a thumbs up. He hadn't thought of it that way. Chloe looked back and forth between them, a look of complete confusion on her face. Liam smiled at her. Chloe, go pack your things. Submit your resignation later. You're coming back with us. Okay. After Chloe went to her room, Liam and Leo went downstairs to wait in the car. As the door closed, Liam's expression grew serious. Leo, from today on, I want you glued to Chloe's side at all times, except when you're sleeping or in the bathroom. Leo understood the unspoken meaning of the command immediately, but he still had to ask, what about you, Liam? If they're this much trouble, they'll probably come after you too. Liam's gaze drifted to the distance. They won't touch me, he said with a faint smile. Why not? No reason. Seeing Liam's absolute confidence, Leo didn't press further. He watched the early morning sun stream through the window, illuminating Liam's face, and suddenly felt that Liam was a world away. In that moment, he felt like he had never truly understood him at all. Chloe came out with her things packed, a mixture of nerves and excitement on her face as she got in the car. Liam didn't rush. He drove them to get breakfast first. While they were eating, Landon was also getting news. What? He brought P6.She back. In the study, Lawrence's voice was sharp with disbelief as he stared at Jason. Yes, sir. Young Master Liam withdrew the $1.5 million from his account last night, then went to P6.She's apartment this morning. Ms.She has already submitted her resignation to Zenith Corp. They've had breakfast and are on their way here now, Jason recounted calmly, though a flicker of surprise crossed his own eyes. Lawrence was stunned silent for a long moment. Then he began to laugh. I overestimated him. His voice became light, his expression peaceful. It seems he's just an ordinary person after all, unable to escape the bonds of family. His words were heavy with meaning. He looked at Jason, his posture relaxing completely. You can begin preparations. Go now. Tell Sylvia Shaw that in 3 days, I will host an engagement ceremony for her and Liam. At that time, she will hand over what she has. With the young master's temperament, he may not be willing, Jason pointed out, adding a reminder, Sir, Ms. Thorne also seems to have taken a strong interest in him. Does she? Isn't that perfect? Lawrence laughed. With Liam's soft heart, even if things don't work out with Sylvia Shaw, a marriage to the Thornes will undoubtedly benefit our family. Don't forget, the Landons are his roots. Jason felt a chill. The memory of Liam's distant expression made his blood run cold. He was about to say more, but Lawrence's voice cut him off. Proceed with the plan. It is time for the Landon family to set sail. Jason dared not argue. Yes, sir. After Jason left, a sneer appeared on Lawrence's face. He had seen that detached look in Liam's eyes and thought he might be different, just a bit cold. But he had been wrong. The first thing Liam does upon his return is bring his sister back. After everything he's been through, he's still so sentimental. Lawrence had overestimated him. He shook his head, his eyes glinting with triumph. It seemed he wouldn't have to do much at all. Liam was walking toward his own destruction. In the guest room at the Landon estate, Ms. Thorne, P6.She submitted her resignation first thing this morning. She is with Liam and Leo on their way here. According to Palmer's report, Liam withdrew $1.5 million in cash last night, and another $15 million from a black card. Evelyn's voice faded as she spoke, stealing a nervous glance at her boss. There were only a few holders of that black card, the Thornes and the other 3 great families. The Landons wouldn't just hand something like that to their newly returned heir. That meant the most likely person to have given it to him was. Go on, Cassandra said without looking up, her voice like ice. Evelyn flinched. Ms. Thorne, how could you give him the black card? What if he... She stopped short, meeting Cassandra's dark, warning gaze. I'm spending money on my man. Do you have a problem with that? No. Of course not. Evelyn, I've noticed you've become quite talkative lately. Is your workload too light? No. I'm sorry, Ms. Thorne. Evelyn quickly wiped sweat from her brow and glanced at her phone, desperate to change the subject. Ms. Thorne, Mr. Landon has just arrived at the estate. Good. Go out and tell him to immediately. Cassandra started to respond automatically, but a thought made her pause. Her eyes narrowed. You go and watch him. If he dares to have any intimate contact with Sylvia Shaw, report to me at once. Yes, ma'am. Evelyn Reed thought, backing out of the guest room and shakily wiping sweat from her brow. It's true what they say. Never, ever mess with someone who's head over heels in love. Just then, Riley Thorne's voice chirped from beside her. Evelyn, what's wrong with you? Riley bounced forward, her expression a mask of pure curiosity as she took in Evelyn's frazzled state. Nothing at all. Evelyn shook her head quickly. I saw Liam's back, and he brought a girl with him, Riley said, giving Evelyn a knowing wink. Is that why my sister is giving you a hard time? It's not that. The girl is his actual sister. I don't think Ms. Thorne would be jealous of that. I wouldn't be so sure, Riley said, her face a caricature of an all-knowing sage. I know my sister better than anyone. She gets jealous of me. Another girl is definitely fair game. She stepped forward, placing a hand on the doorknob. Whatever, I'm going in. Cassandra gets stuck in her own head sometimes. Before Evelyn could even form a word of protest, Riley had pushed the door open and slipped inside. As the door clicked shut, Evelyn clasped her hands together in front of her chest and began to pray for Riley's soul. Inside the room, the air was thick with a heavy, oppressive pressure. Riley strode forward, slapped a hand on the desk, and yelled, "Cass!" Cassandra, who had seen her enter, slowly lifted her eyes. Annoyance was written all over her face. Riley blinked, feigning innocence. "Hey, so Liam's back. You wanted to go drag him up here for you?" "No need." The reply was expected, Cassandra's voice restrained but vicious. "Come on, Cass. I won't say it's from you. I'll just tell him I need to talk to him about something. You know you can trust me to handle it." Riley pressed, knowing her sister's pride was her greatest weakness. Cassandra shot her a cold, imperious glare, her voice sinking to a low growl. "I don't want to see him today." That stopped Riley in her tracks. "Why the hell not?" "No reason. Now, get out before you make me lose my temper." Cassandra's voice was sharp, a clear sign she was at her breaking point. But Riley was never one to listen. Her mind instantly connected the dots. "Sis, if you're angry about that girl Liam brought back, it's not worth it. She's his biological sister." When Cassandra didn't so much as flinch at the news, Riley's eyes widened in understanding. She already knew, so why was she still this furious? A sudden panic seized Riley. If her sister gave up on Liam, she'd redirect all that obsessive energy onto her, and the pressure would be 1,000 times worse. She leaned in closer, her mind suddenly picturing Sylvia Shaw's face. "Sis," she whispered, "did that two-faced schemer Sylvia say something to you yesterday?" This time, she saw her sister's expression darken by several shades. She'd hit the mark. "Cass, no matter how powerful the Shaw family is, they're not bigger than us. And even if you and I can't handle it, Dad can. What are you so afraid of her for?" Riley's face was indignant. She knew she had her. Cassandra looked at Riley, her sister's words clearly striking a chord. Her gaze fell, a hint of sorrow coloring her tone. They knew each other as children. Liam's just forgotten her because of his amnesia. "What are you even talking about?" Riley practically jumped out of her skin. "This isn't like you at all. If you want something, you take it." If Liam was really in love with Sylvia Shaw, he'd have some lingering feelings for her even with amnesia. "I've known him for a while now, and I have never once heard him mention her name." Her words were like a key turning in a lock. The fighting spirit flared back to life in Cassandra's eyes. But just as quickly, it vanished, replaced by a look of weary resignation. She said that if Liam tries to force his memories back, it could cause permanent damage to his body, Cassandra said, her voice cold but tinged with a pain she couldn't hide. "And you believe her?" Riley shrieked, staring at her sister in disbelief. "Cass, this is not you. She's your rival right now. Of course, she's going to say whatever it takes to make you back off. How can you let her win like this?" Silence descended on the room. Cassandra's deep, piercing gaze fell on Riley. "She's right. She's my rival. Sylvia was the last person who wanted her to have a chance. Naturally, anything she said would be calculated to work against her. Besides, if Liam had truly been in love with Sylvia, how could he have gone all this time without ever mentioning her? Even amnesia couldn't erase the gut feeling of a real connection. It meant one thing. He had never loved Sylvia Shaw. On the contrary, even after returning to the Landon family, he'd spent far more energy on her. He was in love with her. When had she become so hesitant? As Riley watched with anxious eyes, Cassandra abruptly stood up, her entire demeanor radiating a chilling intensity. She gave a single, cold command. "Come on, we're going downstairs." Seeing her sister had finally come to her senses, Riley's energy surged. "You got it." As they exited the room, Riley shot a triumphant smirk at a bewildered Evelyn. She knew her sister better than anyone. This was just a case of her feelings clouding her judgment. Even the strongest people have their moments of vulnerability. Downstairs, Liam had settled Chloe and Leo in a guest room, letting them decompress with some video games. He was about to go find Lawrence Landon to have a chat and test the waters. But, clearly, things weren't going to be that simple. "Liam, you're finally back." Sylvia Shaw blocked his path, a gentle, radiant smile on her face. "I got up early to make you breakfast, but I was surprised to find you'd gone out last night. Why didn't you ask me to come with you?" Even with his memories restored, too much had happened. That part of his life felt distant. and Liam found he couldn't summon any real emotion for her. It was late, he said, his tone deliberately distant. I didn't want to disturb you, Ms. Shaw. A flicker of hurt crossed Sylvia's face at his coldness, but she pressed on, reaching out and taking his wrist. Liam, we don't have to be so formal with each other, she said softly. Remember when we were kids? Before she could finish, an furious shout echoed from the elevator bay. You bitch, what do you think you're doing? Get your hands off my Liam. Startled, Sylvia's head snapped toward the sound. She saw a furious Riley Thorne and a glacial Cassandra Thorne striding toward them. Remembering her pact with Cassandra, a supposed non-aggression treaty, Sylvia's composure finally cracked. She had held back all day yesterday, had even run interference with the family elders for them. But now, on her day, Cassandra was breaking the rules and coming downstairs. You're cheating. Let go of my brother-in-law. Riley ignored Sylvia's accusation completely, storming forward and glaring daggers at their joined hands. Liam, however, caught the keyword. Cheating. He blinked, looking from Cassandra to Sylvia in utter confusion. Realizing her slip, Sylvia froze. She shot a warning glare at Cassandra before defiantly tightening her grip on Liam's arm. Liam, why don't we take a walk in the garden? Though phrased as a question, it was a statement. Without waiting for an answer, she began to pull him toward the exit. Sis, this woman is shameless. Let me go teach her a lesson. Riley fumed, raising a fist. Don't be ridiculous, Cassandra snapped, her gaze fixed on the retreating pair, specifically on the arm Sylvia was clutching. Riley turned back, ready to argue, but the murderous look in her sister's eyes stopped her cold. The anger instantly deflated. Still, the thought of her future brother-in-law being stolen away made her anxious. Sis, are you just going to stand there and watch her take him? I thought you'd figure things out upstairs. Cassandra didn't speak. She watched them disappear through the doorway, her expression growing darker by the second. Then, with a sudden, decisive movement, she strode after them. Riley understood immediately. She said no more and hurried to follow. Sylvia dragged Liam into the garden and to a gazebo. As she looked around, Liam's gaze shifted to the hand clamped around his own. With his memories back, he remembered the Shaw family, the sole ruling clan on a southern island, a hidden, reclusive family he now realized. He didn't know how he'd ended up there, only that Sylvia's parents had told him he wasn't their biological son. That was likely when Sylvia, who had always treated him like a little brother, started acting differently. She stopped asking him to hand her a towel during her bath. She insisted he knock before entering her room. At the time, he thought she just grew to dislike him. But looking back, it was the dawn of a different kind of awareness between them, the spark of romance. She must have overheard that he wasn't her brother, but he had no romantic feelings for her. Beyond his gratitude to the Shaw family for saving his life, there was only the affection one feels for friends and family, and even that had faded over the long years. Experiences don't disappear. They are permanent, but feelings are not. A long dormant crush can be worn away to nothing by time. People need connection to maintain a bond. He and Sylvia hadn't seen each other in forever. Even with his memory back, he couldn't reignite those old feelings. It was over. He felt it was necessary to make that clear. Liam's expression hardened. He deliberately pulled his hand free. Ms. Shaw, this isn't appropriate, he said, his tone detached. Sylvia's face fell, disappointment flashing in her eyes. But she quickly pasted on a warm smile. What's not appropriate? We used to hold hands and play together all the time as kids, didn't we? She looked at him hopefully, wishing for a nod, a sign of shared memory. But Liam only offered a faint, polite smile. That was a long time ago. It's in the past. It's in the past, yes, but that doesn't mean it's forgotten, does it? She seized on his words, her voice laced with desperation. She looked from him to her empty hand. You never used to argue with me, she said wistfully. Remember that time our tutor made me copy out Confucius 10 times as punishment? My eyes were all red from crying, and you comforted me, saying you'd copy it 9 times for me, leaving just 1 so I'd learn my lesson. She trailed off, a nostalgic smile spreading across her face. The sentiment stirred something in him. Liam's eyes softened slightly. I remember that, and you stayed up with me while I did it with... Sylvia murmured, then stopped, her eyes widening in sudden realization. She stared at him, her voice tight with excitement. Liam, you remember? An image of a sterile white room and electric shocks flashed through his mind. Liam frowned. You could say that. His voice was quiet, but in the stillness of the garden, it was perfectly audible. Cassandra, who had just rounded the corner, froze. The hand at her side clenched into a fist. Sis, are we ouch? Shut up. Cassandra flicked Riley on the head before she could finish. Riley yelped, rubbing the sore spot, but not daring to talk back. She peeked around the corner, following Cassandra's gaze. In the gazebo, Liam and Sylvia stood facing each other. Looking at her sister's face, a mask of intense, deadly focus, Riley got the message. They were eavesdropping. She pouted, squatting down to get a better view. "Fine, we can listen," she muttered under her breath. "No need to get violent." In the gazebo, Sylvia could no longer contain her excitement. She reached up, her hand trembling as she gently touched Liam's cheek. "Liam, you finally remember." Her eyes reddened instantly, filling with tears. At the sight, an inexplicable tightness seized Liam's chest. He averted his gaze. "Ms. Shaw, you used to call me Sylvia," she cut in, her expression a mixture of desperation and longing. Riley, still squatting in the corner, couldn't stay quiet. "Oh, this is bad," she whispered frantically. "This woman is a pro. She's already pushing for the first-name basis." It had taken her ages of begging before Liam had finally called her Riley. This woman was coming in hot. How was her less-than-silver-tongued sister supposed to compete? She glanced at Cassandra. Her sister's face was so dark it was almost black. Facing Sylvia's expectant gaze, Liam paused, then blurted out, "Really? Was I that rude as a kid?" Sylvia's hand froze. From the corner, Riley let out a small snort of laughter, glancing up at her sister with unconcealed glee. The tension in Cassandra's face eased, but only slightly. The storm clouds remained. Riley tugged on her sister's dress. "See, sis? I don't think you have to worry too much," she whispered. "Liam's a total straight arrow." Cassandra didn't respond. Her entire body was coiled like a spring, the hand clenched at her side, trembling with tension. She hadn't expected Liam to have regained his memories. And the first person to know wasn't her. And then there was that hand, stroking his face. Damn it. Sooner or later, she was going to cut that hand off, Deb wanted, and feed it to the dogs. Sylvia looked a little embarrassed. She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear and smiled. "Not entirely. At first, you call me Sylvia. Then, when we got a little older, you refused to call me that anymore." She looked up, meeting Liam's eyes, her voice soft. "You even said that when you grew up, you were going to protect me." "Oof," Riley hissed from her hiding spot. She tugged on her sister's sleeve, her eyes wide with shock. "This is bad, sis. She's playing the childhood sweetheart card." Cassandra remained silent, oblivious to Riley tugging her dress out of shape. The only thing that mattered was Riley's warning. Childhood sweetheart, a bond forged in youth, real and tangible. Even if forgotten, it lingered in the heart, and, once remembered, it could be a devastatingly powerful weapon. "But, sis, we have to go out there. If we don't stop them, they're going to start making out." Riley was frantic, seeing her sister frozen in place. She grabbed onto her dress with both hands. "Wait." Cassandra's voice was quiet, but it carried an undeniable command. Riley didn't dare argue. She knew one thing. Defying her sister, especially at a moment like this, would have fatal consequences. Anxious and confused, she shot Cassandra one last look before squatting back down in defeat. She had no idea what was going through her sister's head. When Sylvia had dropped that line, Cassandra had felt a surge of panic and fear. Fear that Liam would leave her, that he would choose Sylvia. But when her anxious gaze landed on Liam, his distant, detached demeanor pulled her back to reality. She remembered what he'd shouted when she'd threatened him with Chloe's medical file. "It's just a piece of paper. You think it can replace the last 20 years of my life?" That raw, indignant complaint revealed a side of him she hadn't fully grasped. The Liam she understood was not someone who would be trapped by sentiment. He wouldn't bow to anyone. What he craved above all else was freedom. She didn't think he would. He would never be chained to the past. Even with that conviction, her body trembled. "You must be misremembering." In the gazebo, Liam's eyes glinted, a small smile playing on his lips. "I don't recall ever saying something like that." "Really?" A shadow of disappointment crossed Sylvia's face. She gave a sad little laugh. "It seems I'm the only one who remembers it so clearly." At her sudden melancholy, Liam turned away and looked out at the leaves drifting down from the trees. He bent down, picked one up, and asked an odd question. "Ms. Shaw, do you know why leaves fall?" The sudden, random question took Sylvia by surprise. She looked at him confused. "Why?" Liam rolled the leaf between his fingers, a faint smile on his face. "Logically, it's gravity, the same force Newton discovered with his apple. But poetically, you could say falling is its destiny." He glanced at her, still looking perplexed. "What can it do? Destiny dictates that it must fall down, not up, not left, not right. It's a phase of its growth, a sign of its maturity. Even if it lands in the mud, that's the path it has to take. People are the same. His gaze was knowing, as if seeing right through her. Ms. Shaw, you have to turn the page. People have to look forward. Memories are nice, but they're in the past. So I'm choosing to let myself off the hook. He didn't want to live in the past. He felt he had made his point crystal clear. The rejection was obvious. But Sylvia suddenly smiled. She sat down gracefully on the gazebo bench, her voice soft but firm. Even destiny needs a little human intervention. Sis, what are they talking about? That woman is playing games, and why is Liam talking about letting himself off the hook? I don't get it, Riley whispered from the corner, scratching her head and looking at Cassandra. To her surprise, her sister seemed to be breathing a sigh of relief, a look of renewed, fighting spirit on her face. Riley tugged her hem cautiously. Sis, you understood that. Cassandra shot her an icy glare and said nothing. Riley shut her mouth and peeked out again. In the gazebo, before Liam could respond, Sylvia reached out, grabbed his arm, and pulled him down to sit beside her. Let's not talk about that. Liam, we haven't seen each other in so long. Let's forget the past for today. Tell me what you've been up to lately. Bad news, sis. She's holding his hand again. Riley yelped, her voice echoing through the quiet garden. Both Liam and Sylvia heard it. Cassandra didn't blame Riley. She crossed her arms, her posture radiating cold arrogance, and glided toward the gazebo. Her icy gaze locked onto their entwined hands. Well, isn't this cozy? She purred, her voice dripping with sarcasm and fury. The tone was unmistakable. Liam knew it instantly. The great lady is jealous again. Sylvia's expression hardened. She looked at the two Thorne sisters with undisguised annoyance, her gentle voice grinding out from between her teeth. What are you two doing here? Cassandra's eyes were fixed on Liam. The Landon estate has a lovely view, she said with a smirk. I was simply in the mood for a stroll. Beside her, Riley puffed out her chest. That's right. This is the Landon estate. What we do here is none of your damn business. Great. Here we go again. Liam had no desire to be caught in the middle. He swallowed hard and quickly pulled his hand away from Sylvia's. Well, you all enjoy the view. I have something to take care of, so I'll just stay. Liam, you're not going anywhere. Three voices spoke at once. The pressure was suffocating. Liam felt his scalp tingle. The gazebo wasn't that big, and with four of them crammed into it, it felt dangerously crowded. He took a deep breath, deliberately avoiding Cassandra's predatory glare. So, how about that view? He offered weakly. Let's go somewhere else, Sylvia suggested, standing up. Good idea, sis. Let's go somewhere else too, Riley piped up. If we run into them again, it's just a coincidence. They can't do anything about it. Cassandra said nothing, her eyes burning into Liam, simmering with barely contained rage. It was official. Wherever he went, they would follow. Liam had not seen this coming. Looking at their determined faces, he desperately wanted to escape. But there was no escape now. Finally, he sighed, deciding to change the subject entirely. Well, since we're all here with nothing to do, how about a game of mahjong? I'm in, Sylvia replied first, her smile unable to hide the delight in her eyes. As long as I'm with you, I'll play anything. Riley, not to be outdone, shot back, game on. Who's afraid of who? I'm going to make sure you lose the shirt off your back. Time was a precious commodity. Cassandra had a mountain of paperwork waiting for her, all piled up in her effort to sabotage Liam and Sylvia's time together. Now she was supposed to play mahjong? She wanted to kill someone. But what choice did she have? Her father had explicitly told her not to use the Thorne family's power. If she left now, it would be just the three of them, and with Riley's temper, she'd never outmaneuver Sylvia. Cassandra swallowed her rage and glared at Liam. Her silence and her refusal to move were her answer. Liam had a servant set up a mahjong table. The four of them took their seats. Sylvia and Cassandra flanked him, with Riley directly across. As Liam nervously stacked the tiles, he could feel the tension beneath the seemingly calm atmosphere. Each of them had their own agenda. In a small attic room in the mansion, Landon watched the cozy scene through a pair of binoculars. It seems young Liam and Ms. Shaw get along quite well. Jason, his head of security, remarked from his side. Lawrence chuckled. She was raised by his side since he was a child. Once those memories return, no one can stand in their way. Indeed, Jason agreed, then looked at his boss with curiosity. Sir, there's something I've never understood. Speak. If you always intended for Liam to be engaged to Ms. Shaw, wouldn't their relationship have blossomed naturally if you had just left him on that southern island? Why go to the trouble of? Jason trailed off, looking at Lawrence with a growing sense of dread. A cold smirk spread across Lawrence's face. Why should I let him live comfortably? Jason froze, his expression turning complex. Anything he wants, I will never allow him to have. I want to see him break. I want him to wallow in self-loathing. If I'm not happy, why the hell should he get a smooth ride? Lawrence's face twisted into a mask of deranged glee. Jason was silent for a moment before venturing. But, Ms. Thorne seems to have feelings for Liam as well. Isn't that perfect? Lawrence's voice was triumphant. If the Thorne family makes a move, it saves me the trouble. He raised an eyebrow. Jason, go and inform Cassandra Thorne that I am formally inviting her to Liam and Sylvia's engagement party. I want to see just how deep her feelings run. Jason didn't dare say more. Yes, sir. Back at the gazebo. I win. Liam, thank you for feeding me that tile. As Liam discarded and ate it, Sylvia's face lit up, and she gleefully revealed her hand. You again? You're cheating. Having lost 3 rounds in a row, Riley couldn't take it anymore. She shot up, pointing an accusing finger at Sylvia. Little sister, my tiles are all right here in front of me. How could I possibly cheat? Sylvia's smile never wavered as she looked at Riley, her gentle expression carrying an immense pressure. Liam sighed internally. At this table, apart from Riley, everyone else was counting tiles. After 3 hands, Riley had practically lost her pants. Of course she was freaking out. He didn't dare look at Cassandra, but he could imagine her face was a thundercloud. He pursed his lips, wondering if he should suggest they stop, when Cassandra's voice cut through the air. Shuffle the tiles. Her voice was glacial, laced with fury, her eyes fixed on him. A chill ran down Liam's spine. He glanced up at her, and the look in her eyes made his heart pound. Maybe we should stop playing. He was already plotting his escape. But Cassandra wasn't giving him the chance. She stood, stalked toward him, and seized his chin, her voice a low snarl. You seem to like her quite a bit. Feeding her tiles for 3 straight hands. Let go of Liam. Sylvia shot up, her usual gentle demeanor gone, replaced by pure fury as she glared at Cassandra's hand. I just had good tiles. How dare you accuse Liam of feeding me wins? Shut your mouth. You don't get to speak here. Cassandra snapped, her fingers tightening on Liam's jaw, forcing him to look up at her. Looks like I gave you too much leash. You've gotten wild. Her voice was a razor's edge. The next second, right in front of Sylvia, she leaned down and crushed her lips against Liam's. P6.She. Liam instinctively tried to struggle, but the moment he raised his hand, he felt a sharp bite on his lip. Riley's eyes went wide. She'd never expected her sister to be so domineering. She silently cheered her on. You go, sis. That was awesome. Sylvia shot to her feet, staring at the scene in disbelief as rage boiled up inside her. Cassandra Thorne, what do you think you're doing? Let go of Liam. She lunged forward to intervene, but Cassandra pulled back just enough to smirk at her. What am I doing? You have eyes, don't you? You woman. Sylvia was so stunned by Cassandra's directness, she was rendered speechless. Kissing him right in front of everyone, without a shred of shame? And what about their agreement? They had agreed not to make any physical moves on Liam. Liam, still in shock, hadn't even processed what happened when that familiar, husky voice sounded again. You're a very naughty kitten, daring to make me angry. Kitten? Who's a kitten? Liam finally snapped out of it, about to push her away when she spoke again. I told you, if you don't listen, I'll kiss you. If you dare to object, I'll do it again. Liam fell silent. His body was already reacting instinctively to her possessiveness. More importantly, if this display made Sylvia back off, it would be one less problem to deal with. Cassandra Thorne. Sylvia was livid, pointing at her rival without any regard for her image. We agreed. No one makes a move. And today is my day. How dare you kiss my man in front of me? Your man. Cassandra released Liam and crossed her arms, looking at Sylvia with a mocking sneer. Did I ever agree to your terms? You. Sylvia was so enraged by Cassandra's shameless spin that she couldn't speak. Liam, however, was listening to their argument and froze. Wait, what are you talking about? What terms? Riley, who had been enjoying the show, could no longer stay seated. She jumped up. Liam, this woman made a deal with my sister. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays are my sister's. Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays are hers. And on Sundays, you get to choose. What? Liam couldn't believe his ears. He shot to his feet, staring in shock at the 2 warring women beside him. Yesterday's events flashed in his mind. Yesterday was Wednesday. Cassandra had sought him out. This morning, Sylvia was waiting for him downstairs, muttering something about cheating. What did they take him for? Liam's good mood evaporated. He stood up, gave both Sylvia and Cassandra a long, hard look, and then turned and walked away. Liam, where are you going? Cassandra and Sylvia, who had been at each other's throats, reacted in unison. Without turning back, Liam's voice floated back to them, cold and distant. Where I go is none of your business. I'm not a toy for anyone's amusement." With that, he was gone. Furious and anxious, Sylvia immediately tried to follow, but Riley grabbed her arm. "Not so fast. We're not done with you cheating. You and me another round. I bet you can't win without your little tricks," Riley said defiantly, shooting a quick wink at her sister. Cassandra wasn't looking at Riley. Her gaze was fixed on Liam's retreating back. A sudden, overwhelming wave of guilt washed over her. He had said as much before. Her father had told her to learn to respect him, but she had never truly respected Liam. From the very beginning, it had always been about her own domineering will. Liam hated having his fate controlled by others, yet she had repeatedly crossed that line. Had she been wrong? Cassandra was lost in anxious thought. "I don't have time to play with you." Sylvia snapped, her anxiety mounting as she watched Liam disappear. Riley was clinging to her like glue, and she couldn't shake her off. "Oh no, you're not getting away. If you don't play, it means you're guilty." Riley's eyes twinkled. "If Liam finds out you cheated while playing with him, what do you think his reaction will be?" That single sentence, like a checkmate, stopped Sylvia's frantic struggles. She was right. He was already furious just hearing about their schedule. If he thought she was a cheater on top of that, he would be completely disappointed in her. The one thing their relationship needed right now was trust. Without it, everything was pointless. Besides, Lawrence had already said that in 3 days, she and Liam would have their engagement party. She was the ultimate winner. There was no need to fight for a fleeting victory now. After a moment's thought, Sylvia calmed down. "Fine, I'll play." She sat back down, shooting a triumphant look at Cassandra. Riley grinned and waved for a servant to bring more tiles. As the two of them prepared for their next battle, Cassandra, still lost in thought, gave them a fleeting glance, bit her lip, and walked away. No matter what, she felt she needed to apologize to Liam. Back in the mansion, Liam went directly to find Lawrence Landon. Jason led him to the second-floor study, where Lawrence was cheerfully watering his plants. "Ah, Liam, you've come," he said as Liam walked in. Lawrence's calm demeanor only confirmed Liam's suspicion that he was up to something. He had brazenly brought Chloe back, and Lawrence hadn't batted an eye. He must have been expecting it. Liam narrowed his eyes, his smile not reaching them. "Grandfather, I brought my sister home." He preferred to be direct. It was far more satisfying than backstabbing. Lawrence seemed a bit surprised by his directness. He set down the watering can and turned to face Liam. "Chloe is my biological sister. I hope you will announce this to the media as soon as possible." Liam's voice was fearless. "Done." Lawrence didn't refuse. He gestured to Jason, who pushed his wheelchair forward until he was right in front of Liam. "I can make a public announcement. I can even give her a portion of the Landon family shares to ensure she's taken care of for life. However, you have to promise me one thing." "Name it." "In 3 days, I will be hosting an engagement party for you and Sylvia. You must attend. That girl has adored you for a long time." Lawrence's voice trailed off, his eyes fixed on Liam. Liam's heart sank, but his face remained impassive. So this was the game. He'd known Lawrence was up to no good. "Grandfather," he said slowly, "Ms. Shaw and I have only just met again. Isn't an engagement a bit rushed?" "Rushed? What's rushed about it? An alliance between the Landon and Shaw families is a wonderful thing. I want you to be happy, and you and Ms. Shaw are a perfect match, and she loves you." The old fox definitely knew about his time on the southern island. Liam was certain of it. Lawrence Landon was playing a grand game of chess, and he was the main piece. He didn't expect Lawrence to back down, but he wouldn't surrender either. Glancing at the imposing figure of Jason, Liam suddenly smiled. "Very well. I do find myself quite taken with Ms. Shaw. Thank you for your trouble, grandfather." Lawrence waved a dismissive hand. Liam took the cue, bowed his head slightly, and left. As he watched Liam's retreating back, Lawrence's eyes filled with contempt. He sneered. "I really overestimated him. The boy didn't even put up a fight. He has his memories back, after all," Jason added. "He and Ms. Shaw are childhood sweethearts." "Then begin the preparations," Lawrence commanded. "Notify the media tomorrow." "Yes, sir." Coming out of the study, Liam ran right into Cassandra. Before he could say anything, he looked up and saw the redness in her eyes. She stalked toward him, backing him against the wall. "You like her?" Her voice held a tremor he had never heard before, a mix of tension and vulnerability. Her eyes bored into his, filled with a bottomless rage. Liam realized instantly she had overheard his conversation. He smiled and shook his head, but then his eyes caught the glint of a security camera in the corner. His expression shifted. "Yes," he said coolly. "I like her." "You're lying." Her pupils seemed to bleed red. She grabbed the collar of his shirt, a desperate hope flickering in her eyes. "You said you wanted to be with me." You said you'd be with me forever. He hadn't expected such a visceral reaction. Seeing her on the verge of breaking down, a sharp pain lanced through his heart. He flinched at his own reaction. This is wrong. How could he feel a pang of sympathy for this madwoman? No. Remembering all the cruel ways she had tormented him, Liam's hand shot up, grabbing her wrist and prying her fingers off his collar. As Cassandra stared at him, her eyes a mix of fury and desperate hope, he laughed, his voice dripping with cynical amusement. I was lying to you. Did you actually believe me? I don't believe you. I don't believe it. Her eyes were a storm of anger and despair. She shook her head frantically, her gaze locked on him in disbelief. Liam had never seen Cassandra like this, as if she'd been abandoned by the entire world. She was always so untouchable, the brilliant rose of the manor, a goddess on a pedestal, the very definition of cold arrogance. But now, her eyes were bloodshot as she stared at him, all her composure and elegance shattered. She looked like she was clinging to a final, desperate hope. The words you're saying now, those are the lie, right? She asked, her voice trembling. His peripheral vision caught the study door behind him. Liam's gaze hardened. He deliberately avoided looking at the unraveling woman before him. You're mistaken, Ms. Thorne, he said with cold detachment. Everything I've ever said to you has been a lie. No. Cassandra staggered back, clutching her chest as if struck. Her elegant posture faltered. Liar, she whispered, shaking her head, her long hair falling in disarray around her face. Her eyes were unfocused. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. She mumbled the words, then her gaze sharpened, locking onto him. Why would you lie to me? There has to be a reason. Just yesterday, we were fine. Does being fine in the past guarantee a good future? Liam cut her off, his voice rising. He was furious with himself for the unwelcome pang of sympathy, disgusted that he could feel anything for a woman so manipulative. It wasn't about being overheard anymore. Liam's own anger boiled over. His eyes clashed with hers, and a reckless, cold smile spread across his face. You're allowed to treat me like a toy, but I'm not allowed to play with your feelings? Cassandra Thorne, you are absolutely hilarious. What makes you think that after everything you put me through, I would fall hopelessly in love with you? Stop dreaming. No. Cassandra was completely undone. Her eyes were scarlet, tears blurring her vision. The loss of control, his anger, it all converged into a black hole threatening to swallow her whole. She clutched the fabric over her heart, a stabbing pain twisting inside her. Torment, she whispered, then let out a hollow, desolate laugh. You think I was tormenting you? I love you, she murmured, her voice a fragile, broken thing. I need you so badly. I just wanted you to be mine. It was part explanation, part confession from the edge of a breakdown. Seeing her so distraught, Liam had felt a flicker of pity, but her last words ignited a fresh blaze of fury in him. Wasn't it, Ms. Thorne? Do you think anyone can just accept your methods? Don't forget, you hit me. You starved me for 4 whole days. You almost let me drown in the bathtub. Did you think I was some kind of fun game? Well then, if you saw me as a toy and played with my body, then in my eyes you were a toy too. And I played with your heart. Liam roared, his words like daggers as he advanced on her. This was the first time he had ever fought back with such fury. He was tall, and as he closed the distance, Cassandra had to tilt her head back to meet his gaze. Tears welled in her eyes as she belatedly realized the true cruelty of her actions. Was I really so wrong? No. I just wanted you. What did I do wrong? Her pride would never let her bow her head. Though she was looking up at him, her expression was defiant, but the trembling of her lips betrayed her. Liam laughed, a bitter, self-mocking sound. You're right. You did nothing wrong, he said, his gaze filled with a tragic pity. So if we're going by that logic, then what about me? He demanded, his voice a thunderous indictment. All I wanted was to escape. What did I do wrong? The question echoed in the hallway. Cassandra was stunned into silence. She had no answer because she didn't know whose fault it was anymore. Seeing the vacant look in her eyes, Liam sighed, his voice softening slightly. Give it up, Ms. Thorne. You can never have me. It was just like when they first met. He was a ghost in her world, untouchable. He stood right in front of her, a solid, real presence. Yet he felt like the wind, impossible to grasp. The pain was excruciating. Cassandra's gaze fell. As Liam turned to leave, her fingers clenched, gripping the fabric of her dress so tightly her knuckles turned white. She called out his name, her voice a low, self-deprecating whisper. Liam. The sound was soft, stripped of all its hardened edges, and it slipped through his defenses like water. Instinctively, Liam stopped but didn't turn around. For treating you like a toy, I apologize. Her voice was quiet, but it was heavy with a humility he'd never heard from her before. Liam froze. He had never imagined the high and mighty Cassandra Thorne would ever apologize to him. And for the arrangement with Sylvia Shaw. I was wrong. I didn't respect her wishes. From now on, I will never do anything like that again. She had apologized, but it was no longer a question of forgiveness. Liam saw it clearly now. People only paid for their momentary emotions. The past was past. To dwell on it was to be consumed by obsession. He was furious with himself, not at her, but at the fact that after everything she had done, he still felt something for her. His plan needed to be accelerated. Liam's expression hardened. Without looking back, he said, "I hope you mean that, Ms. Thorne." And then he was gone. He walked into the elevator and disappeared from her sight. As if all her strength had drained away, Cassandra staggered back until she hit the wall. She braced herself with one hand, a storm of regret and rage swirling within her. So now what? Their engagement party was in 3 days. Was she supposed to just stay here? For the first time, Cassandra Thorne felt like a clown. She had fought so hard, only to lose to a childhood sweetheart. "I'm choosing to let myself off the hook." Liam's words echoed in her mind. Amid the despair, a thought suddenly struck her. She glanced at the study door, then at the security camera in the corner. He had said all his words were lies. Was it possible he had been acting? Or maybe it was half truth, half performance. Cassandra's brow furrowed, and a sharp clarity returned to her eyes. She strode to the elevator and returned to her room. "Get Palmer on the line," she commanded Evelyn, her voice leaving no room for argument. "Tell him to mobilize the entire Thorne security detail." "Ma'am, why would we mobilize the team now?" Evelyn asked, confused. Cassandra didn't even look up. A cold smile played on her lips as 2 words fell from them, sharp and final. "Wedding crashing. Crash." Ugh. Evelyn was so shocked, she almost choked. She caught the lethal glint in her boss's eyes, and a shiver ran down her spine. She nodded quickly, not daring to question her further. "Yes, ma'am." After Evelyn left, Cassandra stroked the lock screen of her phone, where a picture of Liam's face stared back. A chilling smile spread across her lips. "Liam," she whispered, "right or wrong, you're mine now. I won't let anyone take you from me." Coming out of the elevator, the sting in Liam's heart had cooled. He let out a long breath. He was about to head to the guest room to find Chloe and Leo when a loud voice boomed from a nearby hallway. "Hey, little nephew." Hayden Landon, flanked by a few of his cronies, sauntered out from around the corner. They were clearly looking for trouble. Liam had a belly full of fire with nowhere to direct it. He couldn't believe his luck. He cracked his knuckles. "You know, kid, you should learn some manners," Hayden sneered. "When you see me, you're supposed to call me uncle." Liam raised an eyebrow and a corner of his mouth twitched. He put on a perfectly obedient smile. "Uncle, yeah, that's more like it." Hayden nodded, satisfied. He could see his entourage was having the desired effect. He puffed out his chest. "If you're going to be part of the Landon family, you have to know the rules. How about this? You get on your knees and kowtow to your uncle, and I'll forgive you for your previous disrespect." Before Hayden could finish his triumphant speech, Liam's hand connected with his face in a resounding slap. "You dare hit me?" Hayden clutched his cheek in disbelief. Liam just smiled and flexed his hand. "My apologies, uncle. As your nephew, I sometimes don't know my own strength." You. Hayden's eyes widened. He turned to his friends, sputtering. "What are you just watching for? Get him. Beat his ass and show him who's really in charge at the Landon." Liam didn't give him a chance to finish. 2 more quick slaps, crack, crack, sent stars dancing in front of Hayden's eyes. The kids Hayden had brought with him were all spoiled brats his age, barely adults. They'd never seen a real fight, and Liam physically towered over Hayden. After 3 slaps, they were all cowering. Liam was a grown man, and his presence alone was a league above theirs. "What are you waiting for? He's just one guy. This is my house. What are you afraid of?" Seeing his troops wouldn't move, Hayden clutched his stinging face and roared. Liam chuckled. "Yes, this is your house. But I believe it's my house too, isn't it?" He tapped a finger on his chin. "So why do you suppose that when I hit you, no one in our family came out to stop me?" "You." Hayden was speechless, his face turning red from either the slaps or sheer frustration. "Let me guess," Liam continued, his smile widening. "You brought these guys here to try and establish some dominance, right?" Hayden was stunned to be read so easily. "That's right. I'm here to show you who's boss," he stammered, his bravado faltering as he saw Liam raise his hand again. "You don't have to go to all that trouble," Liam said, glancing over the pathetic crew before his eyes landed back on Hayden. "Do me a favor, and I'll gladly get the hell out of here." Hayden blinked. "What do you mean? You're just afraid I'll take your inheritance, right?" Liam grinned. As a young master of the Landon family, you must have a nice little nest egg. Or maybe go talk to your dad. Give me $30 million, and I'll pack my bags and disappear. Immediately. For real. Forgetting the pain in his face, Hayden's eyes lit up. Of course, Liam nodded. Go talk to your dad. The Landon family fortune is worth a hell of a lot more than $30 million. It's a guaranteed win for you. And if you're still worried, you can have your people watch my every move. He delivered the lines with such casual confidence. Hayden pointed a shaky finger at him. Okay, I'm going to talk to my dad right now. You wait here. Don't you dare run off. I'm not going anywhere. Text me when you have an answer, Liam said, holding up his phone with a smile. He watched as Hayden and his crew stumbled into the elevator. He had no idea what game Lawrence was playing, and he didn't care to guess. But Ian and Hayden were a different story. They were simple creatures, motivated by fear of losing their inheritance. Forced marriage? Liam gazed out at the Grand Landon Hall, and a cold smirk touched his lips. Fine. Then don't blame me for taking the money and running. He didn't care what schemes Lawrence had cooked up. He was leaving. The Landon family, the Thorne family. He wanted nothing to do with any of them. He found Chloe and Leo in the guest room, still playing video games. Liam said nothing, just grabbed a laptop and sat down at the desk. With the help of two top university students, he spent the entire afternoon building a simple prototype for a mobile game. A notification buzzed on his phone. A simple okay from Ian. Liam smiled and looked at Chloe and Leo. When this game asks for money, just use my card. Chloe and Leo paused, looked at each other, and instantly understood. He didn't want them to get hit with the taxes. And Chloe, Liam continued, sometime tomorrow afternoon, the Landons are going to announce your identity to the media. I need you to create a social media account. If you ever run into any trouble, post about it online. Even if the Landons pay to have it scrubbed, it won't be instant. He closed the laptop and turned to Leo. Leo, tomorrow I'm going to publicly hire you as Chloe's driver. That way, you'll be linked online. Also, tell your family to create accounts. If anything dangerous happens, post it first. Leo nodded automatically, exchanging a worried glance with Chloe. Liam, it kind of feels like you're giving us your last will and testament. Leo said hesitantly. Brother Liam, are you planning something? This feels dangerous, Chloe added. The two of them stared at him, their faces etched with concern. Liam's expression was unreadable. These big families are complicated. I can't protect you forever. You have to learn to be smart on your own. Got it? Chloe thought for a moment. Brother Liam, what are you going to do? Maybe if you tell us, Leo and I can help. Leo puffed out his chest. Yeah, man. Don't try to carry everything yourself. We're the three amigos. We got your back. Liam just shook his head and smiled, putting the laptop in its bag. It's nothing. I'm just giving you a heads up. I'm going back to my room to rest. You two can start pumping money into the game whenever. As Liam left, silence fell over the room. Chloe got up and closed the door. Leo, I have a bad feeling about this, Chloe said, turning back with a serious expression. Leo's smile was gone, his brow furrowed. Yeah, me too. He's never talked to us like that before. I know. Chloe sat on the sofa, thinking, Do you think he's planning to fight for the inheritance? What for? The only other heir is Hayden, right? And he's still in school. Leo pulled out his phone and started searching for information on the Landon family. Even if he's in school, it's not impossible, Chloe countered. And don't forget about Ian. She frowned. These people were technically her blood relatives, but if it weren't for Liam, she never would have come back. They had let her mother suffer for years without so much as a word. They sent money, sure, but money can't buy affection. I think we just have to wait and see, Leo said after a moment. Once they announce your identity tomorrow, Hayden and his father will probably come looking for you. Okay, no matter what, I'm on Brother Liam's side. Leo, let's just make sure we protect ourselves and don't cause him any more trouble. Right. Back in his room, evening had fallen, but Liam wasn't ready for sleep. He was working on his visa. Back at the Hamiltons, when Penelope wanted to study abroad, he had been the one to handle her application. He still had the contact information for the agent. Processing times vary by country, but the UK was one of the fastest, offering a super priority service. It was his first choice. He submitted the information and got a quick reply. With the amount of money currently in his account, getting an expedited visa was easy. He couldn't afford to wait. Even though he'd agreed to Lawrence's terms, he had no intention of sticking around for 3 days. Instead of a flight, he booked a private cabin on a transatlantic liner. If the Landons sent people after him, he could disembark at any port along the coast and get new documents. At the same time, he created a personal account on TikTok. Once all that was done, he finally closed his laptop and went to sleep. The next morning, Lawrence Landon was true to his word. Chloe's identity was announced to the world. The news exploded online, causing an immediate uproar. Just days after finding their long-lost son, the Landons had found a daughter. The internet couldn't resist. Mr. Landon, maybe check again? I might be a long-lost Landon kid too. This is great and all, but I have to ask, how does a family this huge and powerful take so long to find two of their own kids? The drama with these rich families is better than any soap opera. So wild. Thoughts and prayers. Liam used his new personal account to officially announce he was hiring Leo as Chloe's driver. Riding the coattails of Chloe's trending news, his account gained over 1 million followers in a single morning. The comments section of his one and only video was flooded with long-lost siblings. Hey, big bro, can I be your butler? I don't ask for much. Just toss me some of your pocket change when you're bored. I saw him first. I volunteer as tribute. I'll be your driver. Just pay me $10K a month. I knew I was twitching for a reason these past few days. It's because you were about to pop into my life, Liam. Hey, factory guy, you still working at the factory? Asking for a friend who wants to run into you and be your bestie. Dude got the Shaw Pharma heiress. What kind of luck is that / crying emoji? The comments were endless. Chloe's account amassed over 300,000 followers, and even Leo's account picked up 50,000. The Landon family stock soared, especially in the afternoon when the engagement between Liam and Sylvia Shaw, heiress to Shaw Pharma, was officially announced. The stock price hit an all-time high. The moment the news broke, Chloe couldn't sit still. She grabbed Leo and stormed into Liam's room. Brother Liam. Chloe's face was a mess of anxiety and confusion. You're getting engaged to Sylvia Shaw? Leo, on the other hand, was beaming. He clapped Liam on the shoulder. Liam, man, this is amazing. Why didn't you tell us sooner? Chloe and I thought something was up with you yesterday, and it turns out you were getting engaged. What's so amazing about it? Brother Liam, do you even like Sylvia? Chloe, as usual, cut straight to the point. Liam closed the door and looked at her, shaking his head. The congratulatory speech Leo had prepared died in his throat. He stared at Liam in disbelief. Dude, don't tell me. You're being forced into this. Seeing Chloe's equally tense expression, Liam nodded silently. Basically, holy crap. I knew something felt off. So this was their endgame. Leo exclaimed. Chloe was furious. She stepped forward and grabbed Liam's arm. What kind of messed up family is this? Brother Liam, let's go. We're not staying here. Someone else can be the Landon heiress. Yeah, that's right. Leo chimed in. Maybe we can just grab some cash and run. Forget being rich and famous. Today they're forcing you into a marriage. Tomorrow it'll be Chloe. At the mention of Chloe, Leo's hands clenched into fists. He had been so happy thinking Liam had finally made it, but a forced marriage was a nightmare. If they could pull this on a guy like Liam, what would they do to a girl like Chloe? Marrying someone you don't love is worse than death. Liam glanced at Leo, surprised. He hadn't expected them to say something like that. They were without a doubt seeing things from his perspective. A wave of warmth spread through his chest. His gaze softened as he looked at Chloe. Do you really think running away would work? His question hit home. Chloe froze for a second. Then her face flushed with anger. We could go abroad. I don't believe they can chase us to the ends of the earth. Yeah, abroad, Leo agreed. Then his face clouded with worry. But getting visas and all that takes days. We don't have enough time. I've already filed for an expedited visa. It'll be in my hands this afternoon, Liam said, a faint, knowing smile on his lips. Chloe and Leo, still fuming, both froze. Brother Liam, you're planning to escape? Dude, you've been planning this all along. They both stared at him, suddenly understanding the meaning behind his long speech yesterday. He was leaving, but what about the money? The Landons are powerful. They'll be able to track all of it, won't they? Chloe, a finance major, pointed out the flaw. Leo's eyes widened in realization. Holy shit, Liam. Is that why you had us pumping money into that game? The game. Of course. The game. Chloe caught on. Faced with two people who trusted him without reservation, Liam didn't hide anything. Starting yesterday, the money you've been funneling into the game has been taxed and transferred to my offshore account. It's all through legitimate channels. The Landons will have no grounds to freeze it. Dude, Brother Liam, you're a genius. Liam, how did you even think of that? It's brilliant. They praised him like he was a rock star, their eyes shining. Actually, I need you two to help me with one more thing, Liam said, turning to Leo. Anything, man. Just say the word. Tomorrow evening, the three of us will go out. At night, you'll pretend to be me and come back with Chloe. I'll leave you a few voice recordings. Just hide out in my room and don't open the door for anyone. Leo immediately understood the plan. He nodded, but then looked at Liam's frame, then his own. I can do it, but Liam, we're not exactly the same size, are we? It's fine. I'll wear a thick coat when we leave. Don't worry, I'll let Ian know. He'll help you out from the shadows. Chloe frowned. But brother Liam, when they find out it's Leo on the engagement day, won't they come after him? The thought made Leo anxious. Yeah, Liam, what if they pressure me to tell them where you went? I can keep my mouth shut, but I'm worried they'll threaten my family. Don't worry about that. They won't bother you, Liam said with a reassuring smile. You'll see when the day comes. He clapped Leo on the shoulder, then looked at Chloe. Trust me, I wouldn't put you in harm's way. Chloe, you now hold shares in the Landon company. And Leo, once I'm safely landed, I'll transfer $30 million into your account. You can use it to start a business, travel the world, whatever you want. Consider it payment for your help. At the mention of $30 million, Leo's eyes nearly popped out his head. $30 million for impersonating Liam for one night? Who needed a real job? He thumped his chest. Liam, you can count on me. I guarantee I'll get the job done. The Thorne compound, the moment Catherine Thorne saw the trending news about Liam and Sylvia's engagement, she shot out of her seat. Caleb! She flew down the stairs, phone in hand, only to find her husband calmly sipping tea on the sofa. You have a nerve to be drinking tea right now. Catherine fumed. Our son-in-law is about to be snatched away. Caleb Thorne glanced up, patting the spot on the sofa next to him. Catherine stomped over in her heels and shoved the phone in his face. Look at this. The Landons have zero respect for us. Didn't you tell Lawrence our intentions last time? Catherine, darling, don't be hasty. Have some tea, Caleb said with a placid smile, pouring her cup. Caleb, what is wrong with you? She said, her voice frantic. You like that boy, don't you? And Cassandra adores him. Her eyes were red for a whole day after you two talked. If they break them up, what's going to happen to our Cassie? Sigh. Caleb set down his cup. Catherine, calm down. I saw the news this morning. And you're not worried? What is there to be worried about? Cassandra isn't a child. She has her own judgment. And when it comes to matters of the heart, I think we should stay out of it. We need to let our children have the full experience. His words were so reasonable that they actually managed to calm Catherine down. She sat beside him, her brow still furrowed. So you're saying you haven't told Lawrence about Cassie? Caleb nodded. They're both young. They have a lot to go through. That's still not right. Catherine shook her head. You didn't say anything, and now look. He's marrying Liam off to someone else. If this engagement happens, how is Cassie supposed to stay at the Landon estate with any dignity? If it were a fair competition, she would support it. A third party in a relationship can be a good thing. It tests the depth of feelings and reveals a person's true character. She herself had been driven to realize her love for Caleb only after he'd announced a fake engagement to someone else. But that was a ruse. Liam's engagement was very, very real. How could she not be frantic? Seeing his wife's distress, Caleb couldn't help but chuckle. Catherine, darling, you don't really think this party is actually going to happen, do you? Catherine blinked. Yesterday, Caleb said, a proud glint in his eye, Cassandra mobilized our entire family security detail. And I believe she's preparing a little something else. What's something else? The same big toy I used when I was courting you. The words dropped, and Catherine froze. The memory of that day flashed in her mind, and she gasped. Hiss. A second later, her anxiety vanished, replaced by pure, unadulterated excitement. Is this going to be that epic? You know it. Caleb beamed. Like father, like daughter. My daughter has guts. Oh, stop patting yourself on the back, Catherine teased, her heart racing. She clutched her phone. If it's really going to be a classic replay, can we go watch? Caleb shook his head. It wouldn't be appropriate. I've already declined the Landon's invitation. I'm having Riley come home tomorrow, so none of us can be seen there. So I'm going to miss all the action. Seeing the disappointment in his wife's eyes, Caleb quickly added, Hey, I'll arrange for a few drones. We'll get a full live stream and recording. We can watch it with Riley from home. Catherine's face lit up. She threw her arms around him. That's fantastic. I love you, darling. Black Lake Manor is everything ready. Cassandra, now back at her own estate, stared at her computer screen and addressed Evelyn. Everything is prepared, ma'am. However, there will be a massive media presence that day. If we proceed, the entire world will know. Evelyn's voice trailed off, her face filled with worry. Cassandra lifted her gaze, a cold smile gracing her lips. Her voice was imperious, filled with an absolute possessiveness. That's the point. I want the entire world to know that he is mine. Evelyn felt a visceral chill run through her at the manic look on her boss's face. She silently wiped away a bead of sweat and began to mourn for the ceremony that was to take place in 2 days. That night, Liam took the supplementary card Ian had given him and started pouring money into the game. Ian was an interesting character. When he heard about Liam's plan to run, He agreed without a shred of hesitation or suspicion. It rendered all of Liam's carefully prepared arguments useless. Thinking back on it, most of the Landon family shares were in Lawrence's hands. After so many years of fighting, Ian had never managed to take control, which probably said something about his personality. After all, a man who could raise a simpleton like Hayden couldn't be that much a shark himself. Chloe and Leo were holed up in Liam's room with him, all three of them tapping away at their phones relentlessly. "Liam, I don't think I've ever been this bored in my entire life," Leo grumbled, his fingers never pausing. Chloe wasn't faring any better. After more than 3 hours of constant tapping, her fingers were cramping. She lay sprawled on the sofa. "I never want to spend money on a game again. I'm so sick of this." Almost there, Liam said, trying to console them with a grin. "For my freedom, everyone, just hang in there. Sigh, so tired." Seeing their exhausted faces, Liam couldn't help but laugh. If you want to make someone quit gaming, just give them unlimited funds and make them spend it. He couldn't imagine anyone not burning out. In reality, if they truly had this much money, they wouldn't be wasting their energy on a game. Chloe, for instance. "Brother Liam, after this is all over, can Leo and I come visit you? I've never been abroad before." "Yeah, Liam. Where are you going?" "Chloe and I can fly out to meet you. We'll have money. We should go have some fun." They both looked at him expectantly. "Sure," Liam agreed without hesitation. Before, he would have shut down the conversation. But today, before he had even told them his plan, they had stood by him without question. Especially Chloe's question, "Do you even like Sylvia?" That had struck a chord deep within him. Watching them furiously tapping their screens for the sake of his freedom, a warmth spread through his chest. He had never offered Leo such a large sum of money before. For some reason, watching them work so hard, Liam felt that maybe, just maybe, they could become true friends. "I'll find a way to get you my address," he said. "I'll be changing my number, but your phones might be monitored. When we meet up, to make sure the Landons don't find me, we'll have to wait until the second day." "Got it," Leo nodded, his eyes shining with excitement. "I'll transfer $10 million to my mom, and then I'm going to travel the world." He looked at Liam, his voice thick with emotion. "Liam, I don't even know how to thank you. For the first time, I'll be able to go back to my hometown and hold my head high." "Leo, that's the wrong way to think about it," Chloe chimed in with a laugh. "If you live your life based on what other people think, what's the point?" I know, but every time I go home and see the way they look at me, it just gets to me, you know." Their conversation drifted over to Liam. He shook his head and smiled. "It's easy to say that, but not many people can actually do it. Honestly, Leo, you're already a great guy. Nobody's perfect." "Yeah, nobody's perfect. Brother Liam gets it," Chloe added enthusiastically. "Liam, I really need to learn from your laid-back attitude. I'm so anxious all the time, just constantly burning myself out." "What do you have to be anxious about? You're my driver now. I have to pay you a salary." "Hey, that's different. It makes me feel like a freeloader." "Who says? Why else would I have hired you?" "Leo, you got to learn to chill out. Be more like my brother." The two of them went back and forth, praising him to the high heavens. The scene was warm, comfortable. Everyone was working hard for his freedom. Listening to their cheerful banter, Liam had a feeling he would remember this moment for a very long time. He smiled and said nothing. Nobody's perfect. The words almost made him laugh. He himself was a prime example. He knew Cassandra had tormented him, yet her actions could still make his heart tremble. It was pathetic. He hated himself for his weakness. What was that saying? If you forgive everything, then you deserved everything that happened to you. But people have flaws, don't they? And those flaws make a person whole. You shouldn't reject them, because they are a part of you. Freedom was within his grasp. He couldn't and wouldn't let this chance slip away. As for his newfound feelings for Cassandra, that was a problem for the future. Besides, who knows what tomorrow will bring? You have to live in the present. After a full night of work, they had only gotten through about half the money, but Liam's private account had already received nearly $200 million. For someone accustomed to a life of luxury, $200 million was nothing. A single meal, one auction, and it would be gone. But Liam was a simple man. His ambitions were modest. Rent a small apartment, sleep in late, have a nice meal, take an afternoon stroll for coffee, and in the evening, sit by a river with a drink and watch the world go by. This amount of money was more than enough to last him a lifetime. It just wouldn't be an extravagant one. The day before the engagement party, Cassandra had already left the Landon estate. With one competitor gone, Sylvia felt a great deal of her anxiety lift. The entire world was talking about her engagement to Liam. It was only natural for Cassandra to retreat in defeat. Remembering how Cassandra had possessively claimed him right in front of her, Sylvia seethed. But what did it matter? In the end, Liam would belong to her. "Are you all going out?" Unable to contain her excitement, Sylvia went downstairs and found Liam's group in the main hall. She noticed the heavy winter coat he was wearing and the black mask covering his face. "Liam, do you have a cold?" she asked, a hint of concern in her voice. "Why are you dressed so warmly?" "A little bit. Cough, cough." Liam faked a few coughs. "Let me see." Sylvia grew instantly anxious. She rushed forward, intending to touch his forehead to check his temperature, but with a subtle movement he sidestepped her, and her hand met empty air.